having maxed out charm comparable to a succubus, my wife, who is incompetent and gutless to the core, my mother-in-law, who is crazy about model kits, the enemy female CEO with an overflowing soft heart. All because I was reincarnated into a female-dominated world where women far outnumber men. In this place, the treatment of men and women is swapped. Due to my appearance being too high level, the bad women around me actually reached out their demonic claws toward me. Right now, I am preparing to go visit my girlfriend's mother with her. Nice to meet you, madam. I'm Inori's boyfriend. I smiled somewhat stiffly, my pupils trembling uncontrollably, and my heartbeat was so loud I wondered if others could hear it. My girlfriend's mother, Yanagi Tsukiyomi, didn't even lift her eyelids. She just pushed up her gold-rimmed glasses and slowly flipped through the menu. My stiff expression led Inori to believe it was caused by her mother's cold attitude. "Oh, Mom, what's wrong with you? Didn't you agree to see him? Why are you like this now?" Inori sat next to her mother, shaking her shoulders. The swaying waves of her chest were like ocean tides, constantly battering my mind. I know this woman is just like this. At the same time, I also know what kind of powerful and charming, exquisite figure lies beneath that stiff professional suit. Tsukiyomi smiled helplessly and put down the menu. All right. Mother just wants to see what the little boy you're always talking about looks like." I swallowed hard, feeling my scalp tingle. "Nice to meet you, madam." Just as I was about to introduce myself again, Tsukiyomi interrupted. "Nice to meet you. I am Inori's mother. You can call me Ms. Yanagi." The woman revealed a kind smile at the corners of her mouth, truly looking like an elder meeting her daughter's boyfriend. Seeing her mother's smile, Inori was delighted. "See, Mom? I told you Akira is great, right? It seems you're quite satisfied. And you should smile more often. You look so beautiful when you do." Beautiful? In my eyes, it was unquestionable. If I had to describe it in 4 words, it would be breathtaking. "All right, don't just stand there, let's all sit down." After receiving Tsukiyomi's approval, Inori happily pulled me down to sit, and she sat in the middle of the two of us. The atmosphere at the dinner table was harmonious. Although her mother was a bit different from her usual cold attitude, Inori, surrounded by joy, didn't notice these small details. But I was in a panic. In the restroom, I splashed cold water on my face. The cooling sensation made me calm down a little. How could this happen? How could it be such a coincidence? The eyes in the mirror were filled with disbelief. My phone chimed with a message notification, a friend request. I hadn't seen this icon in a year. The verification message was just 2 cold words. Accept. In less than 10 seconds, the other party immediately sent a voice message that made my heart race. "Why are you sending a voice message? Your daughter is right next to us." I hurriedly entered the stall, switched to earpiece mode, and turned the volume to the minimum. I swallowed and clicked on the 3-second voice message. "You know the nickname." Of course, I knew what she meant. The pale light of the phone screen hit my face, and my fingers trembled as I typed the words, "Mother Tsukiyomi." Tsukiyomi had requested I call her that back then. Given what happened later, I can only say this woman is beyond abnormal. A year ago, after I finished the national exams and got into a university in Goose City, tuition became a problem. So I had to rely on my looks to go to a place called Tenkai Nightclub. The number of men I saw there exceeded everything I had seen in the previous decade. The gender ratio in this world was severely imbalanced, about 1 to 3. Furthermore, women were physically much stronger than men, and in some respects, it was the complete opposite. A beautiful, mature woman with wavy hair and a curvy figure. She must have been 1.9 meters tall in heels. The woman came up to me, looked down at my eyes, and curled her lips into a charming smile. She lifted my chin and looked left and right. "I like you. Kenji Suzuki must have told you the rules here, right?" "Yes." "Good. Today there is a special guest. I have a favor to ask of her. If you serve her well, your tuition won't be a problem." That was the first time I saw Yanagi Tsukiyomi. A professional suit without a single wrinkle, perfectly tailored, highlighted her capable temperament. Her manner was elegant and calm, and her long eyeliner added a touch of allure. The plump, long legs wrapped in black silk felt longer than my life. A pair of sharp eyes looked at me from behind her glasses, as if appraising me. Hiroshi Tanaka could clearly feel that even though this woman was talking to her, Her gaze drifted from time to time toward this little man who had just been recruited. This made her think to herself, "Miss Tsukuyomi, look, after we succeed, we'll split it 70/30ths. How about 70 for you and 30 for me?" Tsukuyomi picked up the contract, read it for a few seconds, then put it down. "Fine." After saying that, she picked up the glass on the table and took a sip. Being the person she was, how could Hiroshi Tanaka fail to understand Tsukuyomi's meaning? "Then, Miss Tsukuyomi, I'll go out first. If you need anything, just call me." She left and closed the door. But what made my eyelids twitch was that the glass behind the door was blocked by a tall woman, making it impossible to see what was happening inside from the outside. "What's your name? Come and sit." Tsukuyomi patted the seat next to her. I sat at a distance that was neither too far nor too close, and when I saw her glass was empty, I immediately poured her another drink. "First time in a place like this?" "Yes." "What a coincidence, me too. Why come here?" "To earn money for my university tuition." A very simple conversation. I originally wanted to evoke her sympathy, but after listening, Tsukuyomi seemed like a different person. The way she looked at me started to feel wrong. That was the first time I made eye contact with this woman. That look was just like seeing prey. It was full of joy and excitement. Tsukuyomi's mature and beautiful face leaned close to me, a cold smile on her lips. "To come to a place like this for tuition? Does your mother not care about you? I'm an orphan." Hearing this, Tsukuyomi was visibly stunned for a moment. "Is that so? So that's how it is." Watching her mutter to herself, I thought she was feeling some pity, but I didn't expect. Smack! The sound of flesh hitting flesh echoed in the private room. Woo-woo. I was lying on Tsukuyomi's firm thighs, struggling constantly, but I couldn't move at all. Both my hands were pressed behind my back by one of her hands, and my mouth was stuffed with black silk fabric. Tsukuyomi's slightly annoyed voice rang in my ear. "Disobedient children need to be punished. You dare to come here to make money knowing what kind of place this is?" Another heavy blow landed on my backside. Woo. I couldn't understand which words had triggered this woman. I only felt a burning pain, but this woman had no intention of stopping. After several more slaps, I stopped struggling, mainly because I had no strength left. This body was unexpectedly weak. Tsukuyomi's chest heaved. The buttons on her shirt showed she had been working overtime today. She turned me over and held me in her arms, gently wiping the tears from my face. It wasn't shyness. I was actually crying from the pain. "Does it hurt?" "Sorry, Mother was too heavy-handed. Come back with me. Mother will love you well." I looked at her broken expression. Where was the dignity and elegance from just a moment ago? "I'll take your silence as consent." What a good boy. Would you dare take the stuff out of my mouth and ask me again? I thought to myself, suppressing the urge to roll my eyes at her. What happened afterward was just as I expected. Love. In a sense, it was indeed love. Provided that I had special predilections, including but not limited to public restrooms in the dead of night, park woods on a rainy day, the rooftops of deserted buildings. The most dangerous time was in a shopping mall changing room. To keep me from making a sound, she stuffed a damp piece of cloth into my mouth. That whole day, my mouth felt like it tasted strange, and I couldn't eat. Such dedication naturally brought rewards. After that month ended, Tsukuyomi transferred 200,000 to me. Hiroshi Tanaka was also happy that the deal was successful and gave me 100,000. My mood was very good that day. The balance on my phone made me feel exceptionally secure. Even the scorching sun didn't feel as intense. Looking down at the words Mother Tsukuyomi on the screen now, I sighed deeply. Why does Inori have to be her daughter? Huh? The sudden knock on the door made me tense up. I lowered my voice. Someone's in here. A little earlier on the other side. Who is it? Inori was still eating, and when she saw her mother chatting with someone, she asked casually. Tsukuyomi had an intriguing smile on her lips. No one. Just a rather disobedient little man. Inori couldn't just ignore that. She widened her eyes and asked curiously, "You call that no one? Mom, don't tell me you're planning on finding me a stepfather?" She knew her mother too well. The usual Tsukuyomi was cold to everyone, even to her and her sister. She rarely smiled. Tsukuyomi put down her phone and looked at her daughter with a playful look. What? Want to experience fatherly love? Inori pouted. I've been used to it for so many years anyway. If you really want to find someone, at least let my sister and me see him. We'll have to live together after all. You have a point. I'll let you see him when there's an opportunity. Great! Inori was happy for her mother from the bottom of her heart. She had originally wanted to be like her mother, not lingering on the entanglements of romance. That was until she met me. She didn't know why. Maybe it was love at first sight. Either way, she was attracted by this gentle, sunny man at first glance. Tsukuyomi wiped her mouth and took out a mirror to touch up her lipstick. You keep eating. I'm leaving. I have a meeting in the afternoon. Goodbye, Mom. Inori didn't notice the sick smile on her mother's lips as she left, a smile she had never seen before. The sound of high heels hitting the tile floor gradually faded away before I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I was truly afraid that crazy woman Tsukuyomi would want to play something intense again. Ding dong. A message from Inori. Baby, why are you so slow? I finished eating while waiting for you. This glutton. I shook my head, finding it funny. After chatting with my girlfriend and finding out her mother had left, I turned off my phone and prepared to go out. Since that woman wasn't there, there was nothing to hide from. Should I break up with Inori? I actually quite like her. The moment I opened the stall door, I froze in place. My gaze traveled slowly upward. The familiar high heels, the familiar black silk, the familiar professional suit, and that beautiful face so familiar it would wake me up from a dream in terror. Why do you want to break up with Inori? Is it because of me? Tsukuyomi's lips revealed a rascally smile. An unnatural flush appeared on her fair face. Or perhaps you don't want to call me madam? I knew this woman was a pervert. I tried to close the door, but Tsukuyomi had already stuck a foot in to block it. In terms of strength, I had never won. This was a conclusion reached after countless contests. Click. The stall door was slammed shut. My hands were pressed against the wall above my head. What do you want? Inori is your daughter. How can you justify this to her? The already cramped space, combined with the height of summer, meant the unusually rich scent of Tsukuyomi, along with a hint of sweat, hit my nasal cavity, making me feel dizzy for a moment. Tsukuyomi didn't answer. She leaned in, her bright red lipstick-coated lips gently parted. Oh? Do you think it's appropriate to mention Inori now? Besides, you were the one who provoked me first. I couldn't deny this. It wasn't the first time the two of us had come into contact. Tsukuyomi knew every inch of my body like the back of her hand. Unable to move, I felt agitated and hot, my heart feeling like it was going to burst out of my chest. Yes, that's the look. That's the look of someone who has already fallen but still doesn't want to admit defeat. Tsukuyomi had seen many men, but they were basically all the same, wanting to flatter and fawn over her, which was truly uninteresting. But I was different. The first time she saw this little man, she saw something completely different in my eyes. There was admiration, curiosity, and a sliver of desire to conquer that I hadn't even realized myself. Is this possible? You, a man, actually have such thoughts? Let's see who ends up being stepped on by whom. Perhaps people would think she was making a big deal out of nothing, or hallucinating if she told them. But a different color suddenly appearing in her boring life made Tsukuyomi overjoyed. Her previously suppressed nature was released on me without reservation. By the time she regretted it and wanted to fix it, she realized she was addicted. Addicted to this behavior, addicted to my resistance, and addicted to everything about this little man. She pulled her hand out and brought it before my eyes. A sweet, bone-melting whisper echoed, "You're still the same as before, not changed at all." Dazed, I tried my best to glare at her, but after hearing this, I couldn't help but ask myself, not changed? I have changed. I was changed by this detestable woman in front of me. Ding dong. The sudden sound startled both of us. I had just opened my mouth to speak when I was blocked by her oncoming red lips. Annoyed by the interruption, Tsukuyomi took out my phone. Without looking to see who sent the message, she turned it off and put it on the shelf to the side. After a long time, Tsukuyomi released me, as I was already struggling to breathe. She took off her gold-rimmed glasses. "Little Akira, do you still remember our favorite game?" Knock, knock, knock. An ill-timed knock on the door sounded, and a voice that made both our hearts tighten appeared. "Baby, are you inside? Is your stomach uncomfortable? Should we go to the hospital and check?" Inori's concerned voice reached the ears of the two who were drunk on each other. The unexpected situation made me hold onto Tsukuyomi tightly, refraining from making a sound. Regaining my thoughts, I glared at Tsukuyomi, pulled the silk out of my mouth, threw it to the side, and tried to push her away. But even in this situation, the woman just stopped moving and looked at me playfully, as if she wanted to see how I would deceive that silly girl outside who didn't know anything. I tried to push her, but my hands were immediately controlled and pressed over my head again. Tsukuyomi leaned into my ear and said something that made me unable to believe. "Either you send Inori away, or let her know. Let her hate me. Choose. How the relationship between us mother and daughter changes depends entirely on your choice." Faced with these words, which were like the whispers of a devil, I fell into deep conflict for a moment. I had been with Inori for a year. Honestly, I really like this girl who is a bit clumsy and always tries to be brave. My experience of living two lives gave me a mindset of taking care of a rebellious younger sister whenever I dealt with Inori. She had protested about this more than once. "I'm a woman. You're a man. You should just stay behind me and let me protect you, okay?" Every time she said that, I would just smile and say, "Okay, then I'll count on you." And then, as expected, she would always mess it up, waiting for me to clean up the mess. I thought such days would continue forever. I didn't expect it all to be ruined by the woman in front of me. "I'm fine, you go back first. I'll be out in a bit." My voice, which sounded no different from usual, made Inori relax slightly, but as she turned to leave, she noticed something on the sink. As the footsteps faded, Tsukuyomi lifted my face and kissed me heavily. "I knew it, little Akira. You can't bear to see Inori hate me." But what answered her wasn't the hot embrace from before, but my gaze, which was filled with coldness and deep disgust. The moment she met this gaze, Tsukuyomi felt her heart skip a beat. "Get up." There was no emotion in my tone. Tsukuyomi's voice trembled slightly, not understanding what was wrong. "I said get up. What do you take Inori for? You really make me feel sick." Knowing that I couldn't win against her in terms of strength, I didn't intend to move again, just staring at her coldly. The intimate atmosphere was gone instantly. Only a stiff, awkward silence remained between the two. I revealed a self-deprecating smile. "What? Not getting up? Go ahead, do whatever you want. Anyway, I can't resist you, can I?" After saying that, I relaxed my whole body and closed my eyes, acting like a lamb waiting for slaughter. A feeling suddenly rose in Tsukuyomi's heart, a fear of losing something. Always excellent from a young age, she could do anything and get anything, as long as she wanted it. But now, she suddenly felt that this little man she liked very much. If she continued to be hard-headed, she might really lose him. This uncontrollable feeling made her panic. It made her want to avoid it, to run away. Tsukuyomi stood up in silence. The click of her heels still made both our hearts skip a beat. Usually Tsukuyomi would look at me with a bad smile, but this time there was only embarrassment on her face. Without the heart to clean up, she hurriedly grabbed her glasses from the side, opened the door, and walked away quickly as if escaping. I quickly reached out to close and lock the door, breathing a long sigh of relief. Phew, thank goodness. At least that woman has a little bit of conscience left. If she really didn't care about anything, I really wouldn't know what to do. Shaking my head with a bitter smile, I really want to ask the audience, what would you do in this situation? I took out a tissue, wiped the sink, and made sure there were no traces left. Just as I was about to go out, I saw something Tsukuyomi had left behind at my feet. Damn. Even though my heart was full of disgust, I picked it up. I like Inori, and before today, I didn't dislike Tsukuyomi. But this woman's wicked character is much worse than I imagined, which makes me feel very uncomfortable. Thinking that I might have to face her every day in the future, I couldn't help but sigh again. Naturally, I can't tell Inori about this. It seems I need to find an opportunity to have a good talk with Tsukuyomi. If we can't talk it out, then breaking up is the only option. In the private room. "Are you feeling better? Let's go to the hospital and check," Inori asked with concern. Feeling my girlfriend's genuine care, the guilt in my heart deepened. "No need, I'll just go buy some medicine later." "All right, but don't force yourself, okay? You must tell me if something happens, you know?" Inori's looks were only about 30% similar to Tsukuyomi's. Otherwise, I would have been suspicious long ago. Looking at her watery big eyes, I pinched her little cheek. Got it. Inori didn't dodge, just frowned at me slightly. Sometimes I really feel like you're the woman, maybe? Even now, that statement sounds strange to me. Just then, Inori's nose twitched suddenly. You smell so good, and this scent is so familiar. I felt the hair on my arms stand up. Absolutely impossible. I had carefully covered it up with the bathroom's diffuser. I know it's the diffuser, right? Looking at Inori's smart expression, as if she had discovered the truth. My heart felt like it was on a roller coaster. Your nose is really sharp. Hey, that's right. Perhaps because her mother wasn't around, Inori became much more lively and chatty. After the meal, the two of us first went to a pharmacy to buy some medicine. We had to put on a complete act. Inori dropped me off at my residence. I had rented an apartment off campus after starting university. Do you want to come up for a bit? About that. My mother just messaged me to go back. I'll come find you again tomorrow. She wanted to go up too, but she couldn't defy her mother's orders. Watching Inori's retreating figure, my expression grew somber. What did that woman want to say to Inori? Deep in thought, I just reached the 3rd floor when I was dumbfounded. What is this, a scammer? Lying at the door to my room was a woman. She was wearing black strappy, high-heeled sandals, revealing snow-white thighs beneath denim shorts, and a thin white off-the-shoulder top. Because she was lying prone, I couldn't see her face, and her long hair was messily splayed to one side. For a split second, I wanted to call the police, but I immediately caught a whiff of alcohol. Then, I suddenly remembered what the landlord had said to me a while ago. A new drunkard moved in next door. Seems like a teacher. If she gets too drunk and knocks on your door, you absolutely must not open it. I cleared the scent of alcohol from my nose. Drinking to this state, and she's supposed to be a role model for others? With the idea that, quote, a good neighbor is better than a distant relative, I decided to give this neighbor a chance. Yoshiro Hakubi woke up to the smell of food. Just as she tried to stand up reflexively, she realized her hands and feet were tied. She lost her balance and fell straight to the floor, emitting a thud. Hearing the noise in the living room, I hurried out of the kitchen, still holding a spatula and wearing an apron, the very image of a house husband. What's going on? She was already in a dazed, unsobered state, and this fall completely stunned Hakubi. She rolled over blankly, looking at me with teary eyes, her nose reddened from the fall. Who are you? What are you doing in my house? Her words made me laugh. I say, Ane-san, take a good look. Is this your house? Hakubi sniffed and looked around, only then realizing the furniture and layout in the room were not like her own at all. However, she didn't panic. There was only a little man in an apron holding a spatula in front of her. What more could he do to her? Come to think of it, this man is really good looking. Could my youth finally be arriving? Hakubi, who had been a seasoned hikikomori for several years, started to fantasize. She propped herself up against the sofa, trying her best to appear harmless. Little brother, can you help me untie these? I absolutely won't do anything, okay? I just looked at her and sneered. Any man who believed such words would probably have already been eaten alive. Hakubi's face fell. She didn't know how to make me believe her. After all, she had actually seen such news. In those clips, the men who were rescued had been crushed and trampled until they were no longer human. Suddenly, her eyes lit up as she remembered something. Right, little brother, listen to me. I'm a teacher. I have a teaching certificate. You can look up my qualifications online. I blinked. Did this woman finally remember? The landlord had indeed mentioned it, but looking at this Ane-san's behavior, I was deeply skeptical. Where is it? The right back pocket. Hakubi flipped over, her upper body propped on the sofa. Because of the excessive movement, her off-the-shoulder top rode up, revealing her white, smooth back. My eyelids twitched as I watched her posture, and my heart accelerated slightly and ungratefully. Hakubi was very beautiful, a typical refined and intelligent beauty of the South. I am not a man... Oh wait, not a man of this world. So looking at this scene, I instinctively felt a bit stirred. I exhaled softly, quickly stepped forward, and took the teaching certificate from her back pocket. Once she flipped back over to lean on the sofa, Hakubi carefully examined this neighbor. She was sober now. Her last memory was at her own front door, and then she remembered nothing. Seeing the interior layout was an exact symmetry of her own home, she must have been too drunk and walked to the wrong door, collapsing at my entrance. I hadn't been able to bear leaving her there like that, but I'd tied her up for fear of what she might do once she woke up. As for why I didn't call the police, I must have recognized her. The only explanation was that the landlord had told me who she was. After deducing the general sequence of events, she concluded, "He's a kind and smart man." A smile couldn't help but tug at the corner of Hakubi's mouth. "Who doesn't like those traits? And he's so handsome too." She sniffed again, then frowned slightly. "It's burning." I hurried to put my phone and her certificate in my pocket and headed to the kitchen. Haha. Seeing my flustered state, Hakubi couldn't help but laugh. A while later, I came out with a dark expression, holding a kitchen knife in my hand. "No way, little brother, you're not going that far, are you? It's just burnt food. No need to commit a crime, right?" Logic is just logic. She didn't know me. Maybe this beautiful young man was a legendary perverted serial killer who lured women home to kill and dismember them? As she tried to crawl away, Hakubi swore in her heart that she would never drink again. But she hadn't crawled far before I grabbed her ankle, making her shriek. Then came my voice, filled with helplessness and disdain. "Shh! What are you screaming for? I tied a dead knot. How am I supposed to untie it without a knife?" Even after regaining her freedom, Hakubi felt melancholy. Indeed, this experience was a bit too stimulating for an ordinary person living in a society ruled by law. It could only be said that she had strong mental fortitude for not sobbing uncontrollably. I returned to the kitchen and brought out a bowl of soup. "Here, finish this hangover soup and you can go." I had checked in the kitchen earlier. She really was a teacher with valid credentials. Hakubi stood up, still feeling lingering fear, but she didn't want to lose face in front of me, so she pretended to be calm. "Cough, cough. It's okay now, little brother. I'm sober, I don't need to drink it." I smiled. "Drink it, I made it especially for you, don't waste food." I don't know why, but even though I was smiling, Hakubi felt an intense pressure from me, as if something terrible would happen if she didn't drink it. A taste that was sour, spicy, and sweet exploded in her mouth. Simply put, it was delicious. Gulp. Crunch. Sounds echoed, and in no time she had finished the bowl of soup. After finishing, she let out a burp, completely disregarding her image. Hee hee. Seemingly embarrassed, she laughed awkwardly. I pushed the teaching certificate toward her. "All right, you can go now. From now on, we're neighbors. Drink less alcohol. If you get drunk at my door next time, I'm calling the police immediately." Hakubi put her certificate away. She wasn't sure if I would really do that, but she had a small question now. Come to think of it, this hangover soup didn't taste burnt. Then what was burning? I rested my chin on my hand and pouted. "My dinner. But that has nothing to do with you." Ah, Hakubi looked at the empty bowl on the table. No wonder it wasn't hot. It turns out he had already finished cooking it and was keeping it warm. Because of her, I had to eat burnt food? Hakubi said somewhat sheepishly. "Since you treated me to this, let me treat you to a meal. Consider it compensation." "Thank you, but I have a girlfriend. It wouldn't be good to be misunderstood." Hakubi left my place feeling slightly disappointed. It wasn't disappointment at being rejected, but rather that such an excellent man had a girlfriend, and she wasn't that person. Opening her door and returning home, she took the teaching certificate from her pocket and reflexively held it to her nose to smell it, as if the scent of the room across the hall still lingered on it. Inside a high-end apartment in Goose City, this was a property purchased by Yanagi Tsukuyomi. Because she often traveled between the two places, she bought this apartment, which was also convenient for her daughter to live in. Just unexpectedly, the boyfriend her daughter chose happened to be him. Tsukuyomi's feelings at the time were shock and panic. She didn't understand how such a coincidence could happen. Back then, after that month ended, Tsukuyomi had wanted to continue the relationship with me, but when she tried to send a message, she found I had deleted her. This was something Tsukuyomi could not tolerate. It was always her who rejected others. When had anyone dared to treat her like this? Her pride would not allow her to grovel or pester a little man from a fleeting, transient romance, so she never asked Hiroshi Tanaka about my whereabouts. Upon learning that I was actually her daughter's boyfriend, she admitted she was truly panicked, so much so that when her daughter proposed that they meet, Tsukuyomi had wanted to refuse on instinct. But in the end, she agreed. How could there not be a tiny part of her that wanted to see me again? Before the meeting, she had planned it perfectly. Get to know me like a qualified elder and get along harmoniously. She figured I wasn't such an unreasonable person and would surely cooperate with her. And just as she had thought, I was very cooperative. So much so that even she felt as if the past had been nothing more than an illusion. But it was precisely this cooperation that stirred her rebellious nature. "Why are you acting so calm? Why are you acting like nothing happened?" Why am I the only one here overthinking things? Wouldn't that make my previous panic and distress look like a clown? What happened after that was beyond her control, especially when seeing that familiar face leaning against her, a familiar body. An unprecedented sensation of pleasure made her unable to hold back, leading her to say those things, the malicious words that could potentially cause a rift between mother and daughter. But fortunately, I was clear-headed. I used an extremely cold attitude to stop her in time. Tsukuyomi fell into internal conflict. On one hand, she lingered on the excitement and satisfaction of being with me. On the other, she was fiercely condemned by her conscience. She knew she shouldn't be like this. This wasn't just gambling with her reputation, but at its worst, her daughter might make a clean break with her. Tsukuyomi pinned up her damp, long hair at will and walked into the room wearing only a thin silk nightgown. She took a bottle of red wine from the rack. The deep red liquid slowly poured into the goblet. The swirling liquid reflected her restless heart. Click! Inori, who had just walked in, saw her mother in this state and wore a concerned expression. "Mom, what's wrong? Is there something upsetting you?" Looking at her daughter, who was squatting beside her with concern, Tsukuyomi opened her mouth slightly. "I'm fine. Mom is just a little tired." She wanted to reach out and touch her daughter's head, but her hand stopped halfway and slowly withdrew. Inori has grown up. She probably doesn't like Mom touching her head anymore. Tsukuyomi's smile was somewhat strained. She didn't know what kind of expression she was wearing, but she imagined it must look very ugly. But unexpectedly, the hand she had tried to pull back was grabbed by Inori and placed on her own head. "No such thing. You're my mom. You can touch it whenever you want." Inori's heartfelt smile was like a sharp sword piercing Tsukuyomi's heart. Gently caressing her daughter's soft hair, Tsukuyomi tried hard not to let her emotions show. "All right, get up. Why are you still acting like a child?" Inori widened her eyes at her mother, who was acting like a total stranger, as if to say, "How could you say that?" "Ha." Tsukuyomi's mood stabilized slightly upon seeing her daughter's expression. All right. Inori is the best, okay?" Inori returned to her room, changed into casual loungewear, and came out to sit across from her mother. "Mom, why did you call me back?" "What? Interrupting your good time with little Akira?" Inori didn't notice the hint of bitterness in her mother's eyes and lowered her head, blushing. "Don't talk nonsense." Cough. We have a very pure relationship." Tsukuyomi was a master at this. How could she not tell? Her eyes were filled with tenderness, her complexion rosy. Clearly, she had already been with a man. But at this thought, her heart felt an agonizing pang. What a sin. "I called you back because there's something you need to do with me. Tomorrow night, there's a gathering of entrepreneurs in Goose City. I'm one of the invited representatives, and as my daughter, you need to attend with me." Inori didn't understand. "Why do I have to go?" At this, Tsukuyomi's expression darkened. "Because that woman will also bring her daughter to attend and announce the matter of her successor." "Ah." Inori's cheek twitched. "Ms. Ling." Inori sighed inwardly, but the mention of a successor reminded her of something. Her eyes darted, and she said, Mom, can we discuss something? Can I bring Akira along?" "If the three of us go as a family, we'll definitely be more eye-catching than Ms. Ling, don't you think?" The next day, I arrived at a coffee shop near the mall, 2 hours ahead of the scheduled time. I took 2 deep breaths. Honestly, I didn't want to stay in a confined space with Tsukuyomi, but to prevent anyone from seeing us, I chose this place. The woman in the room looked over with pleasant surprise. Seeing her outfit today, even if I didn't want to admit it, my heartbeat wouldn't stop accelerating. A white, form-fitting slip dress highlighted the curves of her figure. It was alluring without being vulgar. She wasn't wearing the black silk stockings I was used to seeing, but instead had her bare feet and a pair of white high-heeled sandals. Hey, isn't this going too far? Where did she learn this look of an innocent first love? The look of amazement in my eyes brought a surge of satisfaction to Tsukuyomi. It had been worth it to carefully analyze our relationship and then spend half the night looking up guides online. "What are you standing there for? Come in." Tsukuyomi wore a faint smile, another trick she'd found online. "Don't be too aggressive. Be gentle so you don't scare him away." I sat opposite her. I didn't speak because I had been caught off guard and was still thinking about how to phrase it. Both of us opened our mouths and closed them at the same time. Tsukuyomi's gaze carried a smile. This inexplicable chemistry made her feel a sense of joy. I, on the other hand, felt an inexplicable irritability. I picked up my coffee and took a sip. "Yanagi, go ahead." That title made her pupils tremble slightly. She didn't like being called by her surname, but if it came from me, she would accept it. Inori called me yesterday and said she wanted to accompany me to buy a suit today. Do you know what's going on? Oh, that. Tsukuyomi also picked up her coffee, blew on it, and took a small sip. There's an entrepreneur gathering in Goose City tonight. Inori needs to attend, and she suggested bringing you along. She said the three of us could go as a family. I frowned slightly. You agreed? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't it be inappropriate for me to attend? I'm just a university student. I don't really like these kinds of high-profile events. Perhaps Inori just wants everyone to know you're her boyfriend. Wants everyone to stop having designs on you. Tsukuyomi scraped her thumb against the handle of the cup, her tone carrying a trace of bitterness. I was stunned. This was really something Inori would do. Bold and tactless. Inori, she hasn't discovered anything, right? This was why I wanted to talk to her. There were some things that needed to be clarified. If you hesitate, you'll suffer for it. No, that child has always been quite careless. Tsukuyomi lowered her head, her hair blocking her face so I couldn't see her current expression, but I could still hear the dejection in her tone. Ms. Yanagi. I suddenly grabbed Tsukuyomi's hand, which was resting on the table. Tsukuyomi looked up, her gaze seemingly realizing what I was about to say. Her eyes were filled with panic and pleading as she shook her head, wanting me not to say it. It used to be that she would win in terms of strength, but this time, no matter how she tried, she couldn't pull her hand out from mine. Please. The pleading whisper made my heart ache, but I couldn't be soft-hearted. This time, I had to resolve this. I took a deep breath, and word by word, I said the things that broke Tsukuyomi's heart. Ms. Yanagi, also for Inori's sake, in the future, you are her mother, and I am her boyfriend. We are just ordinary elders and juniors, okay? I gripped that hand, which had pressed me down countless times, tightly. Tears filled Tsukuyomi's beautiful eyes, and she kept shaking her head. She couldn't say okay, nor could she say otherwise. She had imagined this outcome countless times last night, but when it truly happened before her eyes, she still couldn't accept it, couldn't voice the words. I let go. Tsukuyomi tried to reach out and grab it, but I dodged. Without a trace of hesitation, I quickly left the private room. The moment I closed the door, a faint weeping sound came from inside. The soundproofing in these rooms was excellent. You can imagine how loud that voice must have been to be heard faintly from the outside. Coming outside, the sun was already high in the sky. The scorching sunlight proved it was midsummer. I pushed down the brim of my cap and wiped my eyes. The sunlight today is so blinding. Baby, what's wrong? Inori reached out and waved in front of my eyes, noticing I was a bit different today, as if I had something on my mind. Gazing into those eyes, which were 30% similar to Tsukuyomi's, I smiled and pinched her cheek. Nothing, just didn't sleep well last night. Inori didn't suspect anything. She just reached out and pinched my cheek in return. Hey, if you pinch me, I'll pinch you too. After we horsed around for a while and she saw I had regained my spirit, Inori grabbed me and started our shopping trip. Even though she was buying clothes for me, I couldn't feel a shred of joy, only exhaustion from body to soul. Just like that, Inori was carrying 3 bags. I walked out of the store with 2 bags. My mouth twitched. These 5 sets of clothes cost nearly 50,000, 1/6 of the money I had worked so hard to earn. At lunchtime, we found a restaurant. In a bit, let's go to your place and drop off the stuff, then go to my place, how about that? Inori cut a piece of steak on her plate and put it in her mouth. Fine. Is Ms. Yanagi home? I lowered my eyes so she wouldn't see the wavering in my gaze. She went out very early this morning. I suspect my mom is in love. My hand trembled imperceptibly. Oh? What makes you say that? Inori said mysteriously. Yesterday, I don't know who Mom was chatting with on her phone. When I asked her, she told me it was a disobedient little man. I subconsciously gulped. And then today, she got up extra early and put a lot of effort into her makeup and outfit. With that look, if she went out with me, people would believe she was my younger sister. Inori finished her last bite of steak. How come you don't seem curious? This isn't something I should be curious about. I paused slightly. It has nothing to do with me, does it? Inori completely understood my reaction. That's true. But I still have to investigate. What if some man is scamming my mom for money, you know? Plus, she specifically added the word little, so he probably isn't old. On the way back, I mentioned that bringing me to the banquet was a bad idea. Although there was a suspicion of having buyer's remorse after the shopping, the lingering effects of Tsukuyomi were just too strong. Combined with Inori dragging me here and there, I hadn't been able to think of it earlier. Inori didn't suspect I had other intentions. Instead, she pulled me into her arms and answered this with a long kiss. I want everyone who knows me to know that you are my boyfriend. I'm going to marry you in the future. The first half of the sentence truly stunned me, but I couldn't help laughing at the second half. We arrived upstairs. The moment we stepped inside, Inori carried me into the bedroom. Looking at her gaze, which seemed like she wanted to devour me, I knew what my girlfriend wanted to do. About 10 minutes later, Inori looked up, puffing out her cheeks. I was just about to get up to get her a trash can, but I saw her go down again. I watched as she emerged, breathing hot air, and for a moment, I was a bit dazed. Inori licked the corner of her mouth, her eyes full of fire. It's okay, baby. I love everything about you. In this world where the physical strength of men and women is reversed, certain stamina is also reversed. When I was with Tsukuyomi, we often wouldn't sleep all night and would even plunge back into high-intensity exercise the next day. At this moment, a knock sounded at the door. We looked at each other. Your friend? I shook my head. I couldn't imagine who could be knocking on my door. I'll go check. You stay here for a bit. I looked through the peephole to see who was outside. Why did she come here? Opening the door, I asked, Miss Hakubi, is something the matter? Hakubi was just about to say something when she realized the man in front of her looked extremely sexy. Slightly damp hair, a handsome, flushed face, and slightly rapid breathing. Could he be? Hakubi imagined that scene, and a blush couldn't help but creep onto her face. Her stammering made me very confused. I don't know why she's here, but standing at the door seems impolite. Why don't you come in? He's inviting me in? Could it be my spring has finally arrived? Wait, doesn't he have a girlfriend? Could they have broken up? Otherwise, why would he be cooking for himself? So handsome, and he cooks so well. It's not impossible. The fantasies of a shut-in otaku. I had only turned my back for a moment. Who could have guessed she was already daydreaming about when we would get married? As for letting her in so easily, that was naturally because Inori was here. Safety was guaranteed. Besides, rather than being secretive, it was better to be open. I told Inori this was my neighbor, that she came to find me about something. I'd say whatever needed to be said. I told her to wait a moment while I went back into the bedroom. Kaori Hakubi sat upright on the sofa. Since she was a child, she hadn't interacted with many men, and the thought of what she wanted to ask him to do made her even more embarrassed. Before long, the bedroom door opened. Hakubi was just about to speak, when she saw a woman walk out and immediately shut her mouth. Ms. Inori? Inori walked quickly to Hakubi and looked her over carefully. Confirming she hadn't mistaken her, she said, It really is you, Miss Kaori. It's been so long, hasn't it? Inori sat down next to the bewildered Hakubi and, seeing her confused expression, added, It's me! Hakubi was stunned for a moment. Then it dawned on her. Oh, so it's Inori. It really has been a long time. Although it seemed like an accidental meeting between acquaintances, I noticed my neighbor's expression was a bit strange. There was naturally the joy of a long-awaited reunion, but at the same time, she seemed flustered, as if she hadn't expected, or perhaps hadn't wanted, to see Inori. The oblivious Inori, of course, couldn't detect any of this and remained very enthusiastic. Miss Kaori, don't you remember? You even carried me when I was little, and you always hid snacks for me behind Mom's back. Yes, I didn't think you'd remember. Of course! How could I forget that? Faced with Inori's enthusiasm, Hakubi couldn't help but cast a pleading look toward me. Cough, cough! Inori, aren't you going to introduce me? Look at me, I forgot. Inori stood up, came to my side, and grabbed my hand. Miss Kaori, this is my boyfriend, Akira. When she said that, from my angle, the neighbor opposite seemed to become extremely disappointed, though she hid it immediately. Hakubi stood up and said to Inori, I really didn't expect to see you here. Actually, it's nothing. I just moved in and came to say hello. I won't disturb you two lovebirds anymore. My eyebrows twitched at that. I suppose this only worked because it was Inori. Otherwise, no one would believe that. Don't go yet, Miss Kaori. Sit for a while longer. I haven't seen you in ages. As she said this, she went to grab Hakubi to keep her from leaving. But I, being quick-witted, naturally wouldn't let her be put in an awkward spot. "Inori, have you forgotten we have things to do later? We can get together another time." Hakubi gave me a grateful look. "That's right, Inori. Now that I know you live here, we'll meet again when there's time. I won't disturb you anymore." "Oh, okay then." Inori's face was filled with disappointment. I could tell my foodie girlfriend liked this woman, but why did the woman seem so unwilling to see Inori? It seems I need to find a time to ask what's going on. After all, it concerns my girlfriend. I need to understand the situation clearly. After Hakubi left, the two of us sat on the sofa, and I asked about her. It turned out that the relationship between Tsukiyomi's family and Hakubi's family was quite good, and since their age gap wasn't too large, they had spent a lot of time together in their youth. They had been close until Inori reached elementary school. Later, perhaps because Tsukuyomi was too busy with her career and Inori went to a different school, they gradually stopped seeing each other. I really didn't expect it. To see Ms. Kaori here, she was always so good to me. Mom wouldn't let me eat snacks, but she would secretly buy them for me. Although it was a trivial matter, I had different thoughts. Based on my understanding of Tsukuyomi, would that woman, with her extreme need for control, allow someone to contradict her? It was impossible for Hakubi not to understand Tsukuyomi, yet she still snuck snacks to Inori. This meant she really liked Inori. Perhaps she hadn't been as unfriendly as she seemed just now. There had to be other reasons for her behavior. I patted my girlfriend's head. "Your mother wasn't wrong. You really are quite oblivious." "What? Patting my head again? Do you want to do it again?" Haha, I smiled and said nothing. The two of us didn't go for another round. After taking a steamy bath together, we headed straight to Inori's house. "Mom, I'm home. Are you here?" I hadn't been here many times and had never entered Tsukuyomi's room. Moreover, when Tsukuyomi was staying here, Inori usually wouldn't bring me over. Seeing those white sandals in the shoe cabinet, I knew Tsukuyomi was likely home. Inori walked toward Tsukuyomi's room, calling out, "Mom, Akira is here. When are we leaving?" As soon as she said this, I heard a thud from the previously quiet room, followed by the sound of the door being locked. Inori stood at the door, looking puzzled. "Mom, what are you doing? Why did you lock the door?" After a while, a somewhat muffled voice came from inside. "I'm changing clothes." "And you, child, why didn't you tell me in advance that Akira was coming?" Hey, I realized her voice sounded hoarse. It was clear she must have had a good cry. "Let's wait a moment then. I need to change too." Inori pulled me back to her room. Judging by her flirtatious expression, she probably wanted to put on a fashion show for me. Hearing that there was no more movement in the living room, Tsukuyomi quietly opened the door. The reason she hadn't opened it wasn't that she didn't want to see me, but because she felt she looked too haggard and didn't want me or her daughter to see her like that. The beautiful young lady who was usually perfect was now pale and frightened, her eyes red and swollen from crying. As someone who had always been flawless in public, Tsukuyomi would naturally never allow herself to appear like this before others. No one. "Oh, baby, don't. My mom is still here." Tsukuyomi listened in terror to the sounds coming from the room across the hall, her heart filled with the bitterness she couldn't wash away. I knew she would be eavesdropping. I was doing it on purpose. I was making my stance clear. Tsukuyomi also knew I was doing it on purpose, but she could only bite her lower lip, her fingers gripping the door frame, staring intensely at the door across the hall. "Damned, Akira. Do you really have to do it right in front of me?" The sounds from the room traveled into Tsukuyomi's ears. Her heart felt like it had been overturned, filled with all sorts of bitterness, envy, and sorrow. Tsukuyomi, experiencing all these emotions at once, began to condemn herself. She knew I was right. She knew I was doing this to provoke her for the sake of the harmony between mother and daughter. She just couldn't help it. Her tear-filled vision grew blurry. Her unfocused eyes gradually took on a look of passion. Her jade-like fingers slowly began to cast the legendary water spell. At this moment, she even began to hallucinate, imagining that she was the woman inside. Sensing the end, she hurriedly stood up and locked her door, leaning against it with her face buried in her knees. A profound sense of self-loathing arose in her heart. "What am I doing? Baby, look, is this not worn correctly? Let me see." After some fooling around, Inori began to prepare the evening gown she would wear. The light cherry blossom-colored dress was asymmetrically cut, outlining the girl's shoulder blades. 3 lilies were embroidered at the waist, trembling like morning dew on the silk as she walked. "Is it pretty? Why are you just staring? I smiled slightly. It's pretty. My Inori is truly beautiful. Yay! Inori also flashed her usual smile and came forward to straighten my collar. My baby is handsome too. Tonight, let them know you're mine. No one is allowed to snatch you away. I shook my head, smiling. I felt my girlfriend inherited this possessiveness from her mother. All right, let's go out and see how my mom is doing. She must be getting impatient. Clearly, the two of them helping each other was much faster than Tsukuyomi alone. Inori knocked on the door and, with Tsukuyomi's permission, went inside to help her dress. I looked at that closed door, feeling a bit uncomfortable. I wondered if I had gone too far, but then I thought that if I didn't use strong medicine, there was no telling how messy things would become later, and I felt relieved. About 20 minutes later, Inori came out looking expectant. Baby, you can't look at my mom the way you look at me later. I'll get jealous. I felt amused. Your expression says otherwise. I bet you're 9/10 hoping to see me get embarrassed. Just kidding. What hasn't I seen of your mother? In what positions? If seeing Inori earlier had felt like a dream, seeing Tsukuyomi all dressed up now made it feel surreal. This woman had shattered my impressions of her once again. If the Tsukuyomi of the morning had been an innocent first-love girlfriend, she now looked like a queen hidden in the deep sea. The ink-colored silk gown moved like an undercurrent. The deep V neckline was embroidered with golden threads in a thorn pattern, tapering to a blade-like sharpness at the collarbone. The folds of the mermaid's skirt rippled with a luster of liquid metal, flickering with each step like molten gold, locked in the deep ocean. I acknowledged that Tsukuyomi was beautiful, and I had even seen the madness beneath that beauty. But at this moment, this woman, the embodiment of beauty, still made my heart race. Most importantly, there was a touch of trepidation in her eyes. The heavy makeup, which I had never seen before, was likely to hide her swollen eye sockets. In her elegance and strength, there was a touch of fragility that didn't belong to her. Inori glanced at her boyfriend and saw the expected reaction. She wasn't jealous. After all, even she was captivated. But staring was impolite. She coughed heavily. I finally came to my senses, a touch of embarrassment appearing on my face. She had just warned me, and I had fallen into the trap anyway. This woman was truly terrible. Seeing me captivated by her, Tsukuyomi was naturally pleased, but she couldn't show it. Her lips curled into an arc. Let's go. It's about time. The three of them went downstairs, where the driver, an unremarkable-looking woman, was already waiting. I sat in the passenger seat, while mother and daughter sat in the back. Ding dong. My phone buzzed. I opened it to see a message from Inori. We're so close and you're still using your phone? What do you want to say? Then the next sentence almost choked me. I suspect my mom is going through a bad breakup. First, she borrowed money to do something. My eyelid twitched. I knew about that. I did it. How can you tell? When I went in earlier, she was applying makeup, but I still noticed her eyes were red. She definitely cried. And then? I've never seen my mom cry before, and there's nothing that could make her cry, so it must be a breakup. I thought for a moment and replied, by your logic, isn't that a good thing? Inori, in the back, paused. She secretly glanced at her mother, who was resting her chin on her hand and looking out the window, then furiously tapped the screen. But I'm going to find that bastard. To dare make my mom cry. Even I haven't done that. I'm going to beat him up. I felt a sense of helplessness. I put away my phone and leaned my head on my hand. Inori blinked at me, not understanding why, and began typing again. Baby, what's wrong? Answer me. What did I say wrong? You'll help me, right? Answer me. Tsukuyomi glanced at her daughter, who was typing furiously, then looked at me in the front seat, before turning her gaze back to the window. Suddenly, she saw a familiar car. She squinted her eyes slightly. Having maxed out charm comparable to a succubus, my wife, who is incompetent and gutless to the core, my mother-in-law, who is crazy about model kits, the enemy female CEO with an overflowing soft heart. All because I was reincarnated into a female-dominated world, where women far outnumber men. In this place, the treatment of men and women is swapped. Due to my appearance being too high level, the bad women around me actually reached out their demonic claws toward me. Just now, my mother-in-law and girlfriend brought me to a high society gathering. All the socialites in the capital's inner circle would gather here. I rubbed my hands instinctively. To say I wasn't nervous would be a lie. My girlfriend, Inori, came to my side and tilted her head, leaning close to my ear. Nervous? If you're nervous, don't leave my side later, okay? Inori found my state very fresh. Seeing me show the side of a little man all of a sudden felt very fun. She couldn't help but want to bully me a little more. I opened my mouth but closed it again. In this world with reversed genders, being nervous was just being nervous. In everyone else's eyes, a man like me acting this way was perfectly normal. Just then, a Rolls-Royce stopped at the entrance, and a young girl stepped out. But to my surprise, I actually recognized one of the people. I turned to look at Inori. Shh, what a coincidence. When I looked over, the woman on that side also saw us. However, she behaved just like Inori. She offered a nod with her eyes, and that was it. Inori's roommate, one of the Brain Trust members who had advised her on how to win me over, was a handsome girl who always wore a high ponytail. She was quite popular among the university girls. She was a genuine tomboy, a woman who acts like a young man. President Yanagi, why are you still standing here, not going in? While I was turning my head, an extremely gentle voice came from over there, making me unable to resist looking. If Tsukuyomi was fire, passionate, unrestrained, and highly aggressive, then the woman standing before her now was water, filled with tenderness, every glance and smile conveying gentleness. The woman was wearing a dark cyan chigao, cheongzam, with dark patterns, her deep peach blossom eyes traced with dark, fine lines, and a cinnabar mole between her brows that looked as bright as blood. Tsukuyomi was a bit taller than her, and as she looked down at the woman, her tone held undisguised mockery. If you, President Ling, don't come, who dares to enter? If I don't wait for you, who knows, my company might trip over yours again. The woman raised a jade hand to cover her mouth and laughed gently, her voice remaining as soft and peaceful as ever. President Yanagi, you jest. It was just a matter of comparing 3 bids. Why does it sound like we were targeting you? I looked at the scene, and it felt like a tiger baring its fangs to threaten a little white rabbit. Who is this woman? Yui Takahashi's mother? Inori looked unbothered and pouted. Her name is Rin Asahi. She and my mom have always been at odds. Mom, why are you bickering with Ms. Ling again? What are the people behind you supposed to do while you two stand here? Come on, hurry in. Inori went to take Asahi's arm. Ken came over and took Tsukuyomi's hand. After the 2 juniors mediated, both beauties finally relaxed their tension. Look, your daughter is much more sensible than you. Oh my, Inori has grown so tall. I can barely reach you now, Asahi said, stroking Inori's hair. Tsukuyomi rolled her eyes at her, then turned to Kang and smiled. You should learn from little Kang. Look how obedient she is. Unable to keep up with their rhythm, I had just begun to ponder the question of who I was and where I was. A sharp-eyed server came to my side. Little brother, you're here with President Yanagi's daughter, aren't you? Please, come in. Oh, looking at the look the woman was giving me as if she wanted to eat me alive, I suddenly realized, was I the little white rabbit here? Also, did that woman named Rin Asahi just look at me? First of all, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here. The vice mayor was an elderly woman, but you could still tell she must have been a beauty in her youth. After the vice mayor's speech, she went down to prepare for the rest of the event. The remaining people were basically divided into 3 factions. On one side were those closer to Tsukuyomi, gathered together to drink and chat. The other side was naturally Rin Asahi's group. As for the 3rd faction, I say, Inori, even if it's delicious, you have to consider the occasion. The stuff on this table is almost all gone because of you. I was genuinely puzzled. My girlfriend's appetite was several times larger than mine in my previous life. But no matter how much she ate, you couldn't see any change in her stomach. Oh, but you can't get full at a place like this. How about we go get some shabu-shabu when this is over? I looked at the table, which was more than half empty, and my eyelid couldn't stop twitching. It's a good thing your family is rich, or who could keep up with how much you eat? Kang lowered her head and rubbed her hands. I won't go. I don't want to be a 3rd wheel for you two. Inori grabbed her shoulder. It's fine. Didn't you suggest I make my move quickly? You snooze, you lose. There were 4 people in Inori's dormitory, and among them, Kang was the one she was closest to. Plus, since Kang had a relatively soft personality, Inori felt she posed absolutely no threat. By the way, Inori suddenly remembered something Tsukuyomi had said. "Kang, your mom is going to announce tonight that you're her successor." This question silenced Kang instantly. She looked down, her gaze wandering, biting her lower lip. She looked very uneasy. Did something happen? With my sharp eyes, I could see that Kang wasn't just anxious about this. She was hiding something else. I can't say. Seeming to feel that hiding it from a friend was bad, Kang's eyes turned red and she looked like she was about to cry. Inori didn't understand what was going on, but she still gently hugged Kang. All right, don't say it if you don't want to. Look at you, why are you still such a crybaby? Come on, let's go to the restroom and touch up your makeup. It's all ruined. Baby, you wait here for me, okay? I'll be back in a minute." With that, she grabbed Kang and left. I was left standing there, completely bewildered. What is going on? I don't get it. I knew the kid had a soft personality, but I didn't expect it to be this soft, collapsing at the slightest touch. I looked around the venue and realized I was the only man there. This really was like entering a spider cave. But then again, there were few men in this world to begin with, and men who could attend a gathering of this level were even rarer. After realizing I was alone, Tsukuyomi's gaze swept over me a few times, but there was truly no opportunity to be alone. So many eyes were watching her. What would it look like for a mother-in-law to go dote on her son-in-law while her daughter was missing in the middle of a public event? She cared about her reputation, but someone else didn't care about that at all, and she was happy to watch Tsukuyomi squirm. "How come you're all by yourself? Where are Inori and Kang?" Rin Asahi stood there with a glass of wine, smiling as she looked at me. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling person, and she was a gentle, beautiful lady. My first impression of Asahi wasn't bad, soft and charming. Inori took Kang to the restroom. "Ms. Asahi, may I call you that?" Asahi's eyes flickered, the corners of her mouth curling up. "Of course. Since you're Inori's boyfriend, it's only natural for you to call me Miss Asahi. However," she licked her lipstick as she spoke, her peach blossom eyes gazing at me, "I would be even happier if you called me Sister Asahi. They say those with peach blossom eyes look affectionate at everyone, and I had truly experienced it." My heartbeat accelerated involuntarily, and my mind started racing to understand what she meant. Surely she wouldn't want to poach me just because she was at odds with Tsukuyomi? But even if she wanted to, shouldn't it be her daughter who came? I kept my face unchanged, even adding a touch of awkwardness to my tone. How could I do that? Wouldn't that mess up the seniority? It doesn't matter. Sister doesn't care. Or, how about you only call me that when it's just the two of us? Asahi suddenly stepped forward, putting herself within a fist's distance of me. I could even feel her warmth and the pleasant, elegant fragrance of her perfume. I instinctively took a step back, but I forgot that I had already retreated to a corner to stay invisible. When I turned again, Asahi's hand was already moving toward my cheek. "Sister Asahi, Miss Asahi, this isn't right." Just as Asahi was about to touch me, a hand reached out from the side and gripped her wrist tightly. With a click, the jade bracelet on her wrist shattered from the sheer force. Shards of the jade bracelet cut her wrist, and also sliced the hand that was gripping her. Blood dripped. "What do you think you're doing?" Tsukuyomi's voice, suppressing her fury, rang out from the side. The moment I looked up, my heart trembled. I had never seen this woman so angry. Her cold eyes held a piercing, murderous intent. As expected of a woman capable of being Tsukuyomi's rival, Asahi didn't change her expression or smile even while bleeding profusely. "This child is my daughter's friend. Is it not even allowed for me to have a few words with him? That doesn't seem like something you have the authority to manage." With that, she shook off Tsukuyomi's hand, and the fragments of the jade bracelet scattered across the floor with a crisp, tinkling sound. An enraged Tsukuyomi wanted to say something more, but I grabbed her by the arm, the one with the injured hand. "How dare you!" But halfway through the sentence, she met my gaze. Seeing that look of concern mixed with forced restraint, Tsukuyomi, for some reason, suddenly stopped being angry. The corner of her mouth curled up slightly as she let me pull her toward the restroom. Watching our retreating backs, the smile that Asahi had worn on her face gradually faded. Indeed, this man is different. If it had been any other man witnessing this scene, they would likely have started screaming and fainted by now. Tsukuyomi, why is your daughter so outstanding? Akira, I will definitely snatch you away. The children we have together will surely be the most exceptional. Once the two conflicting parties had moved far away, the onlookers who had been watching from a distance dared to come forward. President Asahi, are you all right? Look at all that blood. Hurry to the hospital to get it bandaged. By the time they arrived, Asahi had already resumed her gentle expression. No need. Everyone, please take advantage of the vice mayor's absence and ask the staff to clean this up. I'm gonna change my clothes. By the way, remember not to be loose-lipped. Although she was still smiling, all the women around felt that this smile was more terrifying than if she hadn't been smiling at all. The empty corridor echoed with the sound of Tsukuyomi's heels hitting the floor. Looking at my anxious back, Tsukuyomi felt the day's irritation vanish. Are you worried about me? She asked, her voice filled with uncontrollable joy. No, but your expression and your eyes say otherwise. The joy turned into smugness. Sure enough, you do care about me, you stubborn guy. Don't hallucinate. And why were you so impulsive? A little touch wouldn't have killed me. Hearing me say this, Tsukuyomi became a bit urgent. That won't do. You are my daughter's boyfriend. You can't be touched by just anyone. Next time, don't do this again. By what right should I listen to you? Who do you think you are to manage me? Hearing this provocative remark, an unknown fire rose in my heart. I stopped, lifted my head slightly to look into Tsukuyomi's eyes. This time, I did not disguise myself, nor did I pretend to be like the men of this world. My gaze was firm and sharp. I'll say it again. Don't do this again next time. Tsukuyomi was much taller than me in her heels, but as she looked at me commanding her, she experienced an inexplicable illusion, as if she were the one looking up. This feeling made her feel both a sense of novelty and a hidden thrill, and her heartbeat involuntarily accelerated, but she immediately snapped out of it. No, what am I thinking? How could I let this little man suppress me? You dare speak to me like that? Tsukuyomi's gaze was flustered. She didn't dare to look at me directly for a moment. Though she reacted, her body and mind were still stuck in the habit, and her tone softened unexpectedly, almost like she was acting spoiled. This reaction caught me off guard too. One moment I didn't expect her to be so tough, and the next, I didn't expect her to concede. The shift was too sudden for me to react, and I averted my gaze. In the quiet corridor, only the sound of each other's heartbeats remained. The temperature transmitted from our skin was so clear, so hot. I could only say that we were too familiar with each other. Even the slightest change could bring about different stirrings. What are you two doing? The appearance of this voice was like a bucket of cold water poured onto the heads of both of us. I reacted quickly, letting go of Tsukuyomi's arm and walking quickly toward Inori. Inori, hurry and take Miss Tsukuyomi to get cleaned up. Her hand is injured. As soon as Inori heard her mother was injured, she rushed over to check, forgetting all about the scene she had just witnessed of the two facing each other. Seeing the blood on Tsukuyomi's hand, Inori felt a pang of heartache. Mom, how did you do this? How did you get injured just like that? Tsukuyomi and I exchanged a glance as she passed by me, but we quickly looked away. It's nothing. That cup was poor quality, and I accidentally crushed it. It's all Asahi's fault for making me angry. Ah, I see. It was a perfect excuse. Tsukuyomi had been angered by Asahi more than once, and crushing a cup occasionally happened. Oh, Miss Tsukuyomi, you... Kang, who had followed Inori out, let out a cry of surprise, and then slowly collapsed, leaning against the wall. Eh? Kang, what's wrong with you? This girl scared me again. Inori's mouth twitched. She has hemophobia? I scratched my head at this girl. Are you really a woman? No, that sounds weird, but it seems correct. Since Inori was with Tsukuyomi, I had to help Kang up, finding 2 servers to settle her into a room in the hotel. After messaging Inori which room we were in, I sat on a chair and let out a long sigh. What kind of situation is this? I didn't say anything, just kept rubbing my forehead and smiling bitterly. Click! The sound of the bathroom door opening made me freeze. What's going on? Why is there someone else in this room? Looking at the person who walked out of the bathroom, Asahi. I didn't understand how this woman could be so calm, and why she was even here. She hadn't been taking a shower. She had just changed clothes. Her dark cyan qipao had been changed to ink black, and she was now wearing long black silk gloves on her slender arms. The sexy, enchanting black qipao combined with pure, flawless white silk and the gentle smile on her face, which hit my psychological buttons, made me feel an urge I shouldn't have. Why am I here? Asahi walked barefoot toward me, using one finger to lift my chin. The gentle smile on her face became somewhat alluring. Well, of course it's because I knew my daughter is hemophobic, so I asked the staff to bring you here in advance. Could this woman have calculated both her daughter and me the moment the bracelet shattered? Call me, sister. I wiped the cold sweat from my forehead. Still not right. Ms. Asahi, if you need to rest, I think the bed would be better. There's plenty of space over by Kang. No, sister wants to rest right here. Seeing that I was still so stubborn about not calling her sister, Asahi pouted and rolled her eyes at me, but didn't press it again. I must say, this woman really knows how to handle me. That look almost sank me. If I didn't know she was Kang's mother, I probably would have called her sister, and the good sister kind at that. I'd never seen anyone like her. In this world where women are generally extremely dominant, Asahi is like an outlier. Much like myself, gentle and likable, with a touch of playfulness that doesn't feel forced, as if that's just who she is. From her, I felt a sense of dignity that a man should have. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. I even felt I could. Asahi slipped and fell directly onto me. She was about my height. Thankfully, this chair was big enough. Otherwise, the two of us really wouldn't have fit. What was even more fatal was that she wasn't sitting still. The waves of delicate sensations truly left me feeling mentally and physically restless. Little brother, you're not being very honest, are you? Sensing the obvious change, the hot breath Asahi exhaled hit my ear, immediately dyeing the tip of it bright red. She had never had such intimate contact with a man before. If not for her years of practiced facial expression management, she would probably be blushing all over by now. But even so, her eyes were wet and a faint flush hung on her cheeks. She was afraid I might hear her heartbeat, which was pounding like a drum. Strictly speaking, Asahi and Tsukiyomi are the same type of person, just with different ways of handling things. Tsukiyomi is more direct, while she is more subtle. Seeing me like this, how could she hold back? Little brother, how about coming to play a game with sister? I could tolerate it if she were just hovering, but now she says she's going for real? How can I do that? I already feel guilty enough toward my girlfriend, and I absolutely cannot mess up the seniority level anymore. Ms. Asahi, please don't. I tried to push her away, but Asahi pinned my hands over my head even faster. I see, so you all like it this way, huh? An illusion. Everything just now was an illusion. All that gentleness was a delusion. She's still planning to be the one on top, isn't she? Just a moment ago, my beautiful mother-in-law and the overbearing female CEO were fighting over me, both sustaining injuries on their arms. To handle the mother-in-law's wound, I was preparing to take her to get it treated, but I never expected that, because I was so concerned she would want me to become her daughter's father. Thankfully, my girlfriend and her best friend, the CEO's daughter, arrived in time, and I escaped a disaster. The CEO's daughter, who suffers from hemophobia, fainted on the spot when she saw the blood on the mother-in-law's arm. For this reason, I had my girlfriend take my mother-in-law to get her wound treated, and I called 2 female attendants to take the CEO's daughter to the hotel room above the banquet hall to rest. Just as I was about to go out, the female CEO tackled me. At this moment, Asahi's passionate eyes seemed to see through what I was thinking. Little brother, don't move yet. How about I let you be on top later? My mouth twitched. You really are a strange person. People are always about compromises. Tsukiyomi doesn't understand this. She always pins people down at their pain points. But Asahi is different. She will start with an outrageous price, and then compromise when the other party clearly wants to refuse. The shirt I was wearing was completely unbuttoned, revealing my robust pectorals and the abdominal muscles below. Asahi couldn't help but swallow, her fingers, clad in black silk gloves, sliding gently over them. The slight tickle made me gasp. My reaction seemed to further excite Asahi. Her fingers pressed harder, even gripping forcefully, leaving one long red mark after another on my body. Suddenly, I saw fresh blood flowing down Asahi's arm. Hey, Miss Asahi, your hand is bleeding! Stop for a second! Did you not treat your wound? Asahi breathed heavily as she glanced at it, a dangerous smile appearing on the corner of her mouth. I did, but perhaps because you're by my side, sister's blood has become excited. Do you want to have a taste? What do you mean, want to have a taste? I thought Tsukiyomi was already perverted enough, but I didn't expect there to be an even bigger expert. Asahi licked the blood from her arm, and then, before my shocked eyes, she kissed me. I was stunned and forgot to keep my mouth closed. In an instant, my mouth was full of Asahi, the elegant fragrance on her, as well as the metallic, bloody sweetness. I don't know how long it lasted. Maybe tens of seconds, maybe a few minutes. I leaned against Asahi's shoulder, dizzy. Only my last shred of sanity allowed me to say my final thought. Sister Asahi, Kang is still in the next room. And Asahi's words completely extinguished my remaining sanity. Then let's not stay here. I booked the room next door a long time ago. Cough, 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 cough. Sister, how could you be so? The murmurs hadn't fully escaped my lips when a sound of surprise from my ear blew away all the indulgence. Are you finally willing to call me sister? That's wonderful. My thoughts resumed, and my unfocused eyes regained clarity. Inori, why are you here? The joy of getting her wish covered the confusion over her lover. Inori buried her head in my neck, sniffing my favorite scent, and feeling the body heat she loved most. When I came over just now, I saw Miss Asahi carrying you out. I asked her what was wrong. She said you must have been hemophobic too, but you kept enduring it until Kang was stable, at which point you finally relaxed. I tried hard to recall the previous scene, but I couldn't remember anything. After being force-fed blood by that woman, I was dazed. That blood definitely had a problem. Inori didn't notice my abnormality and continued speaking about her affection for me. I knew your usual strength was just an act. You grew up in an orphanage, so you must have suffered a lot, right? Pretending to be mature and steady must be a necessity. Have you ever fantasized about a woman like a sister, holding you in her arms, pampering you, and whispering in your ear that everything is okay and that you can leave everything to sister? Her words left me silent. There was no way to refute this. It was impossible to refute. Regardless of the world, any man would have thought this way at some point. The tender silence didn't last long. Inori held my face, her eyes filled with expectation. Baby, say it again for me. Her behavior, like a child asking for candy, left me laughing and crying. You were the one who said you wanted to be a sister, and now you're acting like a spoiled younger sister? What else could I do? Could only agree. With eyes dodging slightly, I whispered, Sister. Seeing her boyfriend's delicate appearance and hearing that pathetic, pleading voice, Inori's face became visibly excited. The blush that had faded away returned. Her breathing became heavy. I can't take it. Baby, you're so cute. She hugged my head and rubbed it fiercely. I only felt like I was being pressed into a soft marshmallow. But this marshmallow was not only fragrant and soft, but its ability to hinder breathing was also quite excellent. Using my last bit of consciousness, I forced my hand to slap Inori hard from behind. Perhaps this death-defying counterattack really had some effect. Inori looked a bit helpless and said dotingly, all right, sister is here to pamper you, you insatiable little kitten. After she let go, she was immediately stunned. Looking at her beloved boyfriend, whose face had turned purple and who was rolling his eyes. Inori's eyes widened and suddenly tears filled her eye sockets. Baby, what's wrong? You can't die. The evening breeze brought a rare coolness to midsummer. I slowly opened my eyes, shaking my still dizzy head, and intended to get up to see where this was. Inori, who was lying next to me, felt the movement and quickly looked up. Our eyes met, looking at my girlfriend's face, which clearly showed she had been crying. I smiled slightly. Looks like I didn't die. Inori, why are you crying? A person who is a sister shouldn't cry so easily. Inori, who had been feeling guilty and blaming herself for half the night, could no longer hold back and threw herself onto me. I'm sorry, baby. I'm truly sorry. It's all my fault. I almost killed you. Woo! She said, her tears flowing again, wetting the quilt that covered me. Her slightly trembling body and guilt-filled words made me realize she must have been terrified. I patted her back gently. It's okay. See? Aren't I fine? Really? Inori lifted her head, her tear-filled eyes still sniffing. Of course. How could I die that easily, you silly girl? I reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. Inori, who had almost made a big mistake this time, didn't dwell on it anymore, just blinked and asked, "Baby, are you hungry? It's already past 1 o'clock, and you didn't eat much in the evening." Knowing Inori so well, how could I not know what she was thinking? I smiled helplessly. "I think it's you who's hungry, right? We were supposed to go eat hot pot, but who would have thought we'd end up in the hospital instead? Go see where you can find something to eat." Having been called out, Inori laughed foolishly. It wasn't that Inori was only thinking about eating, but because the situation really wasn't that serious. "Then I'll go buy some food. What do you want to eat?" "Anything is fine, but don't buy anything with too strong a scent. This is a hospital." The sound of the door opening echoed. I was closing my eyes and resting and asked casually, "Why are you back so soon? Aren't you hungry?" "That's why Sister is here to find you, of course." "I'm not feeling well. I'll send him back first and won't be coming back tonight." I don't know how many times Tsukuyomi had looked at this message. My concern put her in a great mood, so much so that she didn't have any further arguments with Asahi in the second half of the party, nor did she pay her any mind. What surprised her, however, was that Asahi did not announce that Kang would enter the company as her successor for an internship. This contradicted the intelligence she had received. Although all unverified information might have discrepancies, such a big thing is usually accurate. Unless she changed her mind at the last minute. But why? Tsukuyomi unconsciously used her fingers to rub the bandage on her hand. Women in this world aren't that delicate. A small injury like this can be cleaned, disinfected, and bandaged. She really wanted to ask her daughter what happened to me, but she felt it wasn't a question she should be concerned about, and it wasn't her style either. Whenever she thought of what her daughter and I might be doing right now, Tsukuyomi felt a tightness in her chest. She knew this was wrong and shouldn't be like this, but she couldn't help it. After looking at that message again, she switched to her photo album. During the year she was separated from me, this was the app she opened the most. She quickly found the video she wanted to see in her hidden album. This was something she had forced me to record when I was dazed, and she even had it made into a disc as a collection. If Inori saw me in the recording at this moment, her blood would definitely boil. It was a side of her beloved boyfriend she'd never seen before. Lying in bed, her bandaged hand holding her phone, the other hand slowly starting to learn water magic. Although she had watched it countless times and could remember every detail in the video, Tsukuyomi was as intoxicated as ever. In the hospital, I heard the sound and opened my eyes abruptly. "Sister Asahi?" "No, Miss Asahi, why are you here?" Did Inori tell her? Impossible. She didn't even tell Tsukuyomi, so how could she have told her? Hearing my slip of the tongue, a happy smile appeared on Asahi's face. "Little brother, if you want to call me sister, just do it. There are only the two of us now." Asahi had changed clothes. The outfit she wore to the party wasn't convenient for moving around. She was wearing a light, thin, tight-fitting t-shirt, printed with a squirtle on the inside, and a pink short jacket on the outside. Maybe the jacket was too small, or maybe the assets inside were too big. The squirtle's eyes were stretched wide. Below, pink yoga pants outlined the rounded lines of her thighs, which felt like they would sink in if you pinched them. A classic outfit for a night run. But in this situation, the one who is in danger isn't her. It's me. If you're going to exercise, just exercise. What do you mean by exercising your way into my hospital room? Asahi came to the side of the hospital bed, one leg kneeling on the bed, her upper body slowly leaning close to my face. The tips of our noses were only a tiny bit away from touching. We were so close we could feel each other's breathing. "Ms. Asahi, what exactly are you here for? And how did you know I was here?" I had deeply realized my inadequacies, so I decided to give up fighting force, and chose to use my wits. These Squirtle eyes are really big. The Squirtle swayed gently with Asahi's movements. It made me like I had turned on an auto-aim. My gaze shifted away, got pulled back, shifted away, and got pulled back again. Noticing my gaze wandering uncontrollably, Asahi's mouth curled up. She knew I was different from the men of this world. If it were someone else, they would only turn their heads away with a blushing face. But I didn't. It was that kind of look, wanting to see but trying to control not looking, yet still unable to control it. In her impression, only women have this reaction. "So what else makes you different, little brother? Let sister strip it all away." Oh my. Asahi's arms went limp, and she flopped directly onto me. Too late to mourn for the Squirtle. I immediately felt the soft touch I'd felt at the hotel before. But this time, there was one fewer layer of blockage in the middle. Cough, cough. I instinctively held her shoulders. Ms. Asahi, are you okay? All right. Since you want to play, I'll play along with you. Anyway, Inori will be back in a moment. She should be back in a moment, right? At this moment, at a night market 3 kilometers away from the hospital. Boss, give me 3 grilled squids, 5 pieces of large beef ribs, 10 pieces of kidneys, and give me 20 beef skewers first. I'll eat them here. All right. You're eating so much, little sister. My boyfriend is in the hospital, and it's not convenient to take food back, so I'll eat here and then buy some other stuff to take back. Haha, you're blessed, young man. Little sister, you're beautiful and can eat. That's great. The lady who grilled the skewers said that, but in fact what she envied was Inori. In this day and age, men are not easy to find. Inori, who was shaking her head on the small stool, was still thinking about what to bring me to eat. But she never expected that my mouth wasn't free right now. Miss Asahi? I was desperately pushing Asahi's shoulders. Call me sister. If you don't call me that, don't talk. Just kiss me. Fine. Asahi kissed me directly. If I call, you kiss. If I don't call, you also kiss. Is there something wrong with you, or have I truly become a succubus? No, I am definitely going to have this seniority added tonight because of Inori. I still don't want to add seniority in such a dazed way, even though the lady is very tempting. My dude self can't not be human. Seeing a trace of a mischievous smile in my eyes, Asahi felt a sudden panic in her heart for no reason. No, why am I panicking? What else can he do to me anyway? Expectations are wonderful, but reality is cruel. Often, you only know your true combat power when you really start fighting. Clearly, Asahi is the type who is on the weaker side, perhaps stronger than Inori, but not by much. Feeling the woman holding me begin to tremble slightly, I knew it was about time. Finally, before I felt my arm was about to be snapped, Asahi's body went limp and she collapsed onto me. We both hugged each other, breathing heavily. Asahi felt like she had almost died. I felt the same. 2 people who had escaped death silently exchanged a glance, then quickly looked away. Asahi was embarrassed because her reaction was too intense. She felt she had made a fool of herself. I was embarrassed because she is Kang's mother and Inori's elder. Being like this with her felt really wrong. Why are you so obsessed with me? It can't just be because I'm Inori's boyfriend and Miss Tsukuyomi's future son-in-law, right? I didn't get the answer I wanted. Asahi left, looking as if she were fleeing. After I asked the question, the only reply I got was a gaze filled with both shame and humiliation. I could understand it though, being the dominant party but being suppressed by me, the weaker party. If this were Tsukuyomi, I wouldn't dare imagine what kind of torture I would be subjected to tonight. In a hospital, she probably would have tied me to an operating table and done all sorts of things to me. At the thought, I couldn't help but shiver, accelerating my pace to tidy up the bed. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain to Inori when she returns. By the way, I need to ask her properly later. Who exactly did she tell about me being here? How did that woman know? Could it be Kang? My suspicions were correct. Indeed, Kang was led on by her mother and revealed I was at the hospital. After Kang woke up and learned that I was the one who had someone send her back to her room, Asahi, who was by her side, certainly wouldn't waste this opportunity to get to me. She took the chance to have Kang contact Inori, saying she wanted to find time to express her gratitude. Kang, always obedient, didn't think there was any need for such formality. After all, they were all good friends. But she asked anyway, and through back-and-forth communication, she found out I was at the hospital. Kang wanted to visit, but because of the fact that she had nearly smothered me to death, she couldn't bring herself to say it. Inori simply said there was nothing serious and told her not to come, saying they would meet another time when she was free. In the evening, the mother and daughter returned home. Because seeing blood earlier had left her feeling unwell, Kang rested very early. However, Asahi, lying on her bed, was tossing and turning, unable to sleep. As soon as she closed her eyes, she could see the scene in the hotel room. That kind of excitement, even after so much time had passed, was still echoing endlessly in her body. Finally, Driven nearly insane by this feeling, she decided to go see me. At worst, she could just say she came to visit because I helped Kang. Even though visiting a hospital in the middle of the night was a bit of a stretch, she went there full of anticipation and came back full of humiliation. Asahi dragged her sore, weak legs into the bathroom. When she took off her Squirtle-printed shirt, she swayed a little. Humiliation. Total humiliation. How could I be so easily? How could this be? It shouldn't be like this. Asahi had never thought she was so weak. According to what she knew about my brother, if we really went for it, she wouldn't be able to last even 5 minutes. How could that be allowed? Who is she? How could she have such a major weakness in this area? In a sense, she is more paranoid than Tsukuyomi. The more outstanding someone is, if they find an imperfection in themselves, they will go insane trying to perfect it. No, I don't believe it. How is this possible? There must be a way. There must be a way. She opened her tablet and searched online. How to improve female stamina. Then she discovered there were indeed some training aids. What is this? Compact. Finally, after careful selection, she ordered a product with a 99% satisfaction rating and quickly deleted all her browsing history. After a long sigh, Asahi looked sharply at the warm bathroom light. You just wait. Inori had bought some light-flavored food. Baby, I'm back. I bought a lot of delicious things. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Inori, all smiles, had just entered the room when she noticed I was looking at her strangely, as if looking at an incompetent wife. Inori didn't understand. She went to the bedside and set the things down. Did you change the sheets? Inori. My tone was very flat. Who did you tell about us being at the hospital? Just as she was about to say it instinctively, she immediately remembered. Oh, right. Kang said she wanted to find time to thank you, and I just mentioned we were at the hospital. Just mentioned. My mouth twitched. I don't think as simply as Inori. This woman, she can even utilize her own daughter. Baby, what's wrong? Did I make you angry? Sensing my dissatisfaction, Inori sat down beside me, asking cautiously. Facing my girlfriend with those clear, innocent eyes, unaware of what had happened, I smiled helplessly and reached out to pat her head. No, how could you make me angry? My Inori is the best, just a little naive. Inori didn't push my hand away, pretending to be angry. Who are you calling naive? I've had my IQ tested. It's 125. As she said this, her face showed a touch of pride. Pro FT, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. 125? I feel your IQ might be more than that. It should be multiplied by 2. Inori blinked, muttering to herself. That would make it 250, idiot. Oh, just you wait, I'll deal with you properly tonight. Come and get me. My disdainful provocation invited Inori to suppress me with force. The next morning, the two of us were discharged. Baby, where do you want to go today? It's still summer break, and there are still several days before school starts. How about we go back to Hamashi? How about I take you to see the orphanage where I grew up? These past 2 days had left me physically and mentally exhausted, full of dangerous encounters. It was exhilarating, sure, but also truly tiring. I felt that if this continued, my heart wouldn't be able to take it for long. If I can't handle it, I can at least hide, right? When Inori heard this, her eyes lit up. This was practically the same as taking her to meet my parents. How could she not be happy? Let's go now. I'll send my mom a message. After 3 hours on a bus, the two of us arrived in Hamashi, hundreds of kilometers away from O-City. After we reached our destination, we found the place was now just an abandoned site. Back then, the orphanage had dissolved due to funding issues, and the orphans inside had been transferred to other facilities. I led Inori around the area, telling her stories about my life there. She listened quietly, and looking at the faint smile on my boyfriend's face, Inori felt a warmth in her heart. Baby, still talking about the past, I turned to look at Inori. She gazed into my eyes, came before me, and cupped my face with both hands. Do you know when I fell in love with you? When? Inori moved closer, our noses touching, our reflections mirroring in each other's eyes. It was when we first met, and you showed me that smile. Clang! It sounded like someone had kicked a soda can. We both looked toward the sound and saw a flustered figure trying to leave. I realized I seemed to recognize that back. The woman who had been spotted froze for a moment, then slowly turned around. What a coincidence, junior student Riku. Inori examined the strange woman in front of her. She looked like she might be mixed race, with an unusually attractive beauty. Cough, cough. Senior Yun, why are you here? I greeted her with an awkward smile. I'm just taking a walk. She's lying, isn't she? She's definitely lying. Although her face was expressionless, Inori could tell at a glance that she was lying. I see. Inori looked at me, astonished. You actually believe that? By the way, Inori, let me introduce you. This is my senior from my old high school, Akari Watanabe. She gave me a lot of help with my studies. Akari Watanabe finally turned her gaze toward Inori. Her emotionless eyes stared straight at her, and she nodded slightly. Senior Yun, this is my girlfriend, Inori. She's also a student at our university, in the same grade as me. Inori caught the key word. Yeah, quite a coincidence, right? I was also surprised when I met Senior Yun at school back then. She's Professor May's top student, you know? One was quiet, and the other didn't want to talk to her. The atmosphere became a bit tense. Standing between these two women, I felt a chill despite the summer heat. I immediately realized what was happening. I looked at my girlfriend with an amused expression. Well, let's head out then. How about we find a place to sit for a while? HMPH. Inori expressed her agreement with a haughty air. Fine. Akari Watanabe wouldn't show any other emotions. The three of them came to a cold drink shop. After Akari Watanabe sat down, Inori said, Baby, come with me for a second, I have something to tell you. She looked directly into Akari Watanabe's eyes as she said the words, baby. I stifled a laugh. Okay. Senior Yun, please wait here for a moment. Order whatever you want to drink first. I turned and followed Inori. What I didn't see was that Akari Watanabe kept her eyes fixed on my back until I disappeared before she turned them back to the menu. Inori placed her hand on the wall beside my face, cornering me. Tell me, baby, why have you never mentioned that you had a senior from high school at our university? Seeing her gnashing her teeth but trying to stay composed, I wanted to tease her. You never asked. Besides, back then. Back then what? My suggestive wording made Inori a little anxious. After all, a first love is a couple's greatest enemy. She was my first love, but she had never asked who my first love was. Back then, Senior always tutored me in the library. After she graduated, we never saw each other again until college. Inori secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but still looked at me with suspicion. Really? By the way, Inori, are you jealous? Inori wouldn't admit to such a disgraceful thing. She lowered her hand, puffed out her chest, and said stubbornly, as if, why would I be jealous? Is she prettier than me? Does she have a better figure? Does she have as much money as me? Does she... She wasn't too sure about that last point. Puffed, ha ha ha. I really couldn't hold it back anymore. Seeing my girlfriend's cute, jealous appearance, I squatted on the ground, clutching my stomach and laughing. Inori felt a bit embarrassed by my laughter. Stop laughing! So annoying! You go back first. I need to make a phone call. She had to confirm this right now. Who exactly is this Akari Watanabe? Enemies meeting are bound to glare at each other, and love rivals meeting are just as intuitive. If her gut was right, this woman was definitely not just a simple senior. Maybe I didn't have feelings for her, but she was definitely different. At O City University Medical School, in a lab, a woman sat straight in front of a workbench, pen in her delicate hand, meticulously recording every result of the experiment. Even wearing a loose white lab coat, it couldn't hide her graceful figure. With every gentle breath, those eye-catching curves seemed to ripple slowly in the air. It was just a pity that the woman had no expression on her face. Her beautiful features were as calm as water, and her indifferent face was like a winter wind, making people afraid to get close easily. Suddenly, the phone lying to the side lit up. The corners of the woman's mouth, painted with dark red lipstick, curled up slightly. What is it, Inori? Her magnetic voice carried an imperceptible doting tone. Auntie May. Inori's voice came through the earpiece, sounding somewhat aggrieved. Hearing that tone, the little expression that was on Mei Kobayashi's face was immediately replaced by a chilling intensity. Inori, what's wrong? What happened? Did that Riku bully you? Inori on the phone seemed afraid that she would misunderstand and immediately said, No, Auntie May. He didn't bully me. It's just that I wanted to ask you something. It seemed the explanation worked. Mei Kobayashi's furrowed brows slowly smoothed out, and the iceberg on her face showed signs of melting. Go ahead and ask. After a moment, Inori's hesitant voice came from the other side of the line. Auntie May, do you have a student named Akari Watanabe? Hearing that name come from Inori's mouth, she felt a bit surprised because she had never mentioned her. According to her observations, the two hadn't had any contact. She's a grade above you, a student at our university's medical school. Oh. Inori, on the other side of the phone, fell into an inexplicable struggle again. This rare sight made Mei Kobayashi feel a bit curious, and a faint smile appeared on her face. Inori, whatever you want to know, just ask. Is there anything you can't tell your Auntie May? It's just... I came to Hamashi with Riku, and I met her here. It feels... maybe it's not good to say, but is she mentally ill? Generally speaking, that would indeed be an insult. However, Mei Kobayashi knew that saying this about Akari Watanabe wasn't exactly an insult, because she truly was ill. Sigh! Mei Kobayashi sighed lightly. Inori, you're right. That child does have some psychological issues, but it doesn't affect her daily life, so she has never sought treatment. What kind of issues? Inori asked impatiently. Simply put, she suffered trauma that led to a dullness in her emotional nerve centers. She is often expressionless, but that's about it. Oh, I see. By the way, Auntie May, last question. Does she have a boyfriend? Could this girl be jealous of Akari Watanabe? Thinking of this, Mei Kobayashi's mouth curled up. So, would you prefer to hear that she does, or that she doesn't? Having her secret thoughts discovered, Inori felt awkward. Oh, Auntie May, why are you like this? Does she or not? Our little Inori is quite protective of her food. She does, all right. I've even seen him. Hearing this answer, Inori's mood improved significantly. Her voice rose a few pitches involuntarily. Thank you, Auntie May. I'll bring you a gift when I get back. After hanging up, Mei Kobayashi slowly retracted her smile, her slender fingers rubbing her chin. This Riku. It seems I need to introduce a partner to Ruyue, but there really isn't anyone better than me. You're just like your mother, wanting only the best of everything. Isn't this just giving your Auntie May a headache? I haven't seen you for a while. What has Senior been busy with lately? After I sat down, I chatted with Akari Watanabe very normally. Our acquaintance was actually quite simple. Nothing much. Helping Professor May complete her project so she can be my advisor for my master's. Akari Watanabe adjusted her glasses, looking completely expressionless. I was used to her being like this. I had asked around about what was going on, but no one knew. That's amazing, Senior. Already preparing for your master's? It's all right. Faced with my smile, she lowered her head slightly to look at the cold drink in front of her. When did you first meet? I answered nonchalantly. When I first started college. Not long after, I was pursued by Inori. My fingers rubbed the glass in front of me, and my eyes were filled with a gentle smile. That means it's been less than a month. Akari Watanabe's soft whisper made me frown slightly, because this phrase was too familiar. Not long ago, another woman had said the same thing. Senior, what did you say? Nothing. I said it's less than a month before school starts. Hearing her say the same thing Asahi had said, and seeing her look away to avoid meeting my eyes, I felt my hair stand on end. I had heard a theory before. One's mood affects one's attitude toward what one sees. Now I finally understood what that meant. Since I met Akari Watanabe, she had always been expressionless, and I was used to it. But now, at this very moment, I actually felt that her expression absolutely had deeper meaning. What was she hinting at? What had she seen? What did she know? I gritted my teeth to keep my expression from fluctuating too much. Senior, what exactly did you mean by less than a month just now? I stared intently at her face, not missing a single trace of any subtle expression change. But to my disappointment, that face full of exotic beauty really didn't change at all. She bit the straw in her glass and took a sip. It doesn't mean anything. Don't overthink it, Junior. This is a threat, right? This is definitely a threat. What do you mean, don't overthink it? You say something that makes me overthink and then tell me not to overthink it? Listen to yourself. Is there a problem with what you just said? My state of mind was about to explode. I realized abruptly that I really didn't understand the woman in front of me. Is knowing her name, what she looks like, and where she went to school considered understanding? No, it's far from enough. Instinctively, I looked out the door and saw Inori hadn't come back yet. Senior, what do you think of me as a person? Akari Watanabe squinted her eyes and tilted her head slightly, using that gesture to express confusion. However, she still answered. You're great. Junior is a gentle and kind-hearted person. My cheek twitched. This was my first time being friend-zoned. Usually I was the one doing it to others. But that wasn't important now. My meaning is, Senior, you also hope that Junior will be well and happy, right? Of course. Why would you think I'd hope for you to be unhappy? Akari Watanabe looked straight into my eyes, her gaze clear and full of sincerity. It's just that now I didn't dare to believe in the authenticity of that gaze at all. I leaned down slightly toward her with a pleading smile. Senior, you wouldn't want me to be hated by Inori and dumped because of past things, right? Akari Watanabe's eyes widened, and she spoke almost immediately. I won't tell her. After saying it, she seemed to realize she had let it slip and shut her mouth immediately. But it was too late. I had heard exactly what I wanted to know. I leaned on the table, supporting my forehead, feeling entirely helpless. Akari Watanabe, on the other hand, kept her head down, stealing glances at me from time to time. I had seen the panicked expression she showed in that brief moment clearly. Having reached this result, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Thankfully, she isn't the type to threaten others with such things. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare imagine if some unspeakable plots might actually come to pass. When did you find out? Since it was already settled, there was no need to hide it anymore. I decided to lay it all out. Akari Watanabe's voice was low. She had never thought there would be a day she'd talk about this with the person involved. Last summer, I came back from summer break and saw you on the street. I wanted to go up and say hello. She bit her lower lip. It seemed the next words were very difficult to say. I continued for her. You saw a woman beside me, right? Akari Watanabe nodded silently. Phew, I exhaled, looking into her eyes. Senior Yun, you should know that I'm an orphan. I got into O City University, but I needed tuition. Akari Watanabe's pupils trembled slightly. The rest didn't need to be said. This kind of thing isn't rare. Vulnerable men relying on women to survive isn't a new story. She just never expected that I would do the same. Akari Watanabe's eyes were a bit red. She wanted to ask, then why didn't you come to me? But she couldn't say it. Why would I come to her? What reason would I have to come to her? The two were just ordinary as friends could get. So, Senior, can you promise me? Promise me you won't tell anyone about this, okay? I looked at her with a slightly weak expression and a pleading smile. Akari Watanabe nodded heavily. Don't worry, Junior. I definitely won't tell anyone. I believe you, Senior. After all, you're a good person, right? Seemingly unable to bear my direct, ardent gaze, Akari Watanabe looked away silently. Seeing her like this, my hand under the table clenched into a fist. Done. I really didn't expect that leaving such a huge bomb behind last year would have such consequences. Thankfully, Senior is a good person and didn't spill the beans. Senior, let's exchange contact information. Even I despised myself for saying that. We've known each other for so long and we didn't even have each other's contact info. Sure. Akari Watanabe pulled out her phone a bit clumsily. I don't know if it's my imagination, but I feel like Senior seems a bit excited. Ring, ring! Not long after, Inori pushed the door open and returned. I turned my head at the sound. Inori, you're back. I've ordered your drink. That's great! Inori, knowing that Akari Watanabe had a boyfriend, felt that she was much more pleasant to look at now. But this woman, is she smiling? What happened? Although she was still wearing that expressionless face, Inori was absolutely sure that there was definitely a smile in this woman's eyes. Because when they first met, her eyes were definitely not like this. Something is wrong. Very, very wrong. Stealing glances at me and Akari Watanabe, she really wanted to know what these two had talked about in the short time she was gone. Just having learned my secret of being supported by my mother-in-law, Akari Watanabe was in a very good mood. Now she had leverage over me. Inori hadn't seen wrong. She was indeed smiling, and very brightly at that. But unfortunately, it didn't show on her face. The joy was all in her eyes. At this time last year, she ran into me on the street and wanted to come over to say hello, but she noticed a woman beside me. Although the woman was incredibly beautiful, it was clear she was not a good match for me in terms of age. Most importantly, I didn't have a smile on my face. Today is different. She noticed that today, there is a smile on my face. A sincere, heartfelt smile. This is good. This is enough. As long as I am doing well. That is all that matters. Her father was a man of loose morals. Her mother was the youngest daughter of a prestigious family who met him during the naive years of youth, even willing to leave her family for him. But in the end, it was a mistake. Having brought disgrace to the family's honor, her mother could not bring herself to return, and she passed away early, filled with regret and resentment. Fortunately, she was a girl, a very beautiful girl. The family took her back and raised her, thinking that one day she might be useful for a political marriage with the young master of another clan. Shimizu Yao had long since accepted her fate. But that afternoon, in that library, she met her angel. "I'll let you have it. I'm not in a hurry." The smiling youth, his gentle words, barged into her heart unreasonably. Unexpectedly, when she finally wanted to express her feelings, she discovered that I already had a girlfriend. Yes, Shimizu Yao had seen Inori before. She had known for a long time, but she retreated. She didn't even dare to appear in front of Inori. As for why she appeared at the abandoned orphanage, there was actually no special reason. She just wanted to see the place where I had lived. Meeting me here, it's great. He has found his own happiness. It's great. In that case, I can rest easy. The street scene blurred, and Shimizu Yao wiped her eyes. At this moment, in the top-floor conference room of the Amano company in Go City, Amano, the CEO, sat at the head of the table with a gloomy expression, her aura crushing. Because she had been practicing water magic with my video until late last night, she woke up a bit late today. She had intended to go find me today, hoping to take advantage of the softening in my attitude toward her. But to her surprise, when she checked her phone, she found her home had been stolen. How could she not be frustrated? Most critically, because of Nakamura, she was completely unable to leave for Hamashi. Taking out her phone and looking at the message from Inori, Amano muttered to herself, "Stupid brat. You ran off as soon as you could. Just wait until you get back to see how I handle you." The thing I feared ultimately happened. I shouldn't have shown concern, otherwise Amano would definitely not have dared to approach me for a long time. I turned to look out the window, wondering what that woman was doing, always resorting to such underhanded methods. As for who that woman is, naturally it is Nakamura. She has already boarded a plane to Hamashi and is expected to arrive in an hour. Good daughter, it's truly wonderful that you can be friends with Inori. Whether you have a younger brother or sister in the future, Mom won't be biased. The eyes behind the sunglasses glinted with excitement. Amano, you want to fight me? Eat my dust. As for little Inori, don't blame your auntie for being heartless. It's just that your boyfriend is too charming. HMPH, although the training props haven't arrived yet, she decided to keep me firmly in her grasp. The strong are always good at seizing opportunities. Evening, Hamashi Airport. Say, Inori, are you sure she's coming by herself? I scanned the crowd, fearing I would miss the target. Yeah, she said she was coming alone. Besides, one more person doesn't change anything, let's just go together. On the way, Inori had bought a bun and was currently eating it, her cheeks puffed out like a hamster's. Watching my girlfriend eat so mindlessly, I sighed inwardly. Before long, someone emerged from the arrival gate, looking around. Upon seeing us, she waved enthusiastically. Inori waved back. When I looked over, I felt quite surprised, because Kang was actually dressed in women's clothing. Her hair was tied in a high ponytail, as usual. She wore a short-sleeved top with a sun protection jacket, a backpack on her back, and a pleated skirt that hid her knees. Her fair calves, long hidden from the sun, were exposed, looking crystalline and eye-catching. Kang walked over with a smile. Inori, enjoying your snack? Do you want some? Forget it, you eat it. Seeing her look of reluctance, how could Kang have the heart to steal food from a foodie? I looked at my girlfriend speechlessly. This girl is perfect in every way, except for her abnormal obsession with food. I turned to Kang and asked, "Did you come alone?" For some reason, Kang seemed a bit nervous and her eyes dodged mine. My mom wanted to come with me, but she had something come up at the company, so she left first. Is that so? My gaze carried a hint of scrutiny. Kang's nervousness manifested as a guilty conscience in my eyes. But on second thought, based on what I knew of Kang, if she were lying, her reaction should have been more pronounced. Just then, I noticed her calves twitching under her skirt. I probed. Not used to wearing a skirt for the first time? With her secret exposed, Kang's cheeks flushed slightly. She lowered her head and whispered, "Yeah, my mom said women should wear women's clothes, and told me to wear men's clothes less from now on." Sigh. I thought for a moment, I always need to conduct a brainstorming session when dealing with this girl. I nodded. Your mom is right. Afterward, we treated Kang to a hot pot dinner. The three of us chatted and laughed our way to the reserved hotel, opening 2 adjacent rooms. Before entering, Inori gave me a slightly bewitching look, the meaning quite clear. Honestly, this feeling of sneaking around is really exciting. I couldn't help but feel a bit of anticipation. Around 10 o'clock, while playing on my phone, I heard movement at the door. Knowing she had arrived, I turned off my phone, pulled up the covers, and pretended to be asleep. Click! The sound of the door being locked from the inside reached my ears. It made my heartbeat accelerate. The slight friction of shoes against the carpet seemed magnified tenfold. As that sound, which seemed to be rubbing against my ear, drew closer, my heartbeat grew faster and faster. I felt the side of the bed sink slightly, likely her knees pressing down, and then a hand pressed against the quilt. Seeing that I didn't resist, as if I were truly asleep, the figure became increasingly bold. Her movements grew forceful as she straddled me, her hands cupping my face, followed by a light peck on my lips. Then, she moved to my ear, and a familiar yet terrifyingly gentle voice whispered, "Why are you so obedient, little brother? Why is it you?" Nakamura's voice made my heart skip a beat, and my blood seemed to freeze instantly. Out of reflex, I wanted to push her away, but she was prepared. How could she give up such a good position? The hand I extended was grabbed the moment it touched her shoulder, and then I was pinned by an irresistible force to either side of my head. The strength was so great my wrists ached. In the dark, I couldn't see the expression on the woman, but judging by her heavy breathing, she must be quite excited. Her voice, gentle yet noticeably suppressed, murmured, "Why wouldn't it be me? I've been following you for a long time. You're a pervert, aren't you?" I was both shocked and angry. After learning Kang was coming, my first thought was that Nakamura had induced it. I had been extremely cautious at the airport, observing carefully, and didn't relax even when Kang appeared alone. But why didn't I notice her? Where are you hiding? Even though I knew she couldn't see, I glared at her. As if she could feel my gaze, Nakamura was filled with pleasure. That hidden urge to destroy was greatly satisfied, to the point where her voice wavered. "Where am I hiding? I'm not hiding. I arrived at the airport an hour before Kang and was watching you the whole time." I was so angered by Nakamura that I was speechless. This woman's obsession was beyond my imagination. To this day, I still don't understand why this woman wants to conquer me so badly. Feeling her touch on my ear, I couldn't help but shiver, but I bit my lip hard to keep from making a sound. This reaction only made Nakamura more excited. "Auntie Ling, can I ask you one last question? There's an old saying, life is like, since you can't resist, you might as well enjoy it." At this point, I had no means of resistance left. To scream out loud? That wouldn't work. If Inori and Kang found out, I couldn't bring myself to let them have a conflict. Seeing that I seemed to have given up resistance, Nakamura was satisfied and kissed my cheek. "Ask away." "Why must it be me? You should know that if Kang or Inori find out, none of us will have a good ending. Why do you still?" After asking, I felt the strength on my wrist loosen, but she didn't let go. In the darkness, the two of us fell into a brief, tense silence, with only our heavy breathing audible. I need a child who can inherit my position. I couldn't see her face, but judging by her voice, her expression was full of sadness. Why sadness? Do you have some hidden difficulty? I suddenly recalled Kang's reaction at the party when asked about an heir. That reaction had been very wrong. Another long silence. It seemed Nakamura had been touched in a soft spot. I decided to press harder. Maybe I could persuade her? Make her abandon this idea? "Auntie Ling, if you really have a hidden difficulty, you can tell me. I won't tell anyone. I'll try to help you, okay? It's better than the two of us like this, don't you think? Walls have ears. If this gets out, I don't care, but you are different. It would ruin your reputation. Even if you don't care about yourself, think about Kang. She's so weak. If she finds out, she might commit suicide." I deliberately exaggerated the situation, hoping to discourage Nakamura. Too bad I still didn't understand this woman, or her paranoia. I didn't know which words hadn't hit a soft spot, but instead seemed to enrage her. I felt my wrists gripped tightly again, My subsequent words were stifled by a pair of soft lips. Even through the quilt, I felt immense pressure on my chest, and my legs were pinned down, unable to move. I felt as if I were stuck in a cluster of soft but tough spider silk. The more I struggled, the tighter I became bound. Realizing my resistance was weakening, Nakamura simply used one hand to pin my hands above my head. The icy touch of her fingertips restored a sliver of my reason. I tried to turn my head away to escape her lips. "Auntie Ling, no, really not. Kang and the others are right next door," Nakamura mumbled incoherently. "Wouldn't that be even more exciting?" I was speechless. This woman's perversion was truly on par with Amano's. Nakamura lifted her legs slightly, and just as I moved, she pinned me again. This time I felt what she was wearing. Fishnets? She was actually... Just as things were about to reach a point of no return, Nakamura's impatient voice came through. "Little brother, you will understand everything later. I will compensate you. Don't blame your big sister, okay? Click." Just as everything was about to be settled, the sound of the doorknob turning rang out. I finally remembered why I left the door unlocked. I urged urgently, "Get up! Inori is here!" Nakamura was also startled by the sound, her brain going blank for a moment. I shook off her hand and pushed her away. "Hurry, we can't let Inori find out." After a flurry of activity, I straightened my clothes and felt my way to the door. Inori complained, "Baby, didn't I tell you to leave the door unlocked? You don't want me to come over?" I was now in a dilemma. If I let her in, everything would be over if she was discovered. But if I told her to leave, there was someone even more ruthless in the room. Seeing my rare hesitance and noticing that the lights inside were off, Inori asked suspiciously, "Baby, you aren't hiding someone in there, are you?" I forgot. My girlfriend's sixth sense is bug-level accurate. Inori narrowed her eyes. Deliberately trying to scare me. She knew, of course, that it was impossible to be hiding someone. She was just joking. But who would have thought that a wild guess would actually be true? At this point, if I blocked her, it would look even more suspicious. I slowly moved aside to let Inori in, praying Nakamura would quickly find a place to hide. "Baby, why didn't you turn on the light?" With a guilty conscience, how could I be faster than Inori? Snap! The light came on, revealing everything in the room. Sweeping her gaze around, Inori turned back. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." I was soaked in cold sweat, my heart hammering. Now I truly knew what it meant to be scared to the point of weak knees. I swallowed hard a few times, trying to stay calm. "There's no one here. Inori, that you would suspect me really hurts my feelings." Inori hugged me with an apologetic expression. "Oh, baby, I was just teasing you. Don't be mad." "Sorry, Inori. I really have no choice. I didn't dare look into Inori's eyes. I didn't have the face to." After harshly condemning myself internally, I stole a glance around the room. I deduced that Nakamura must be hiding in the wardrobe. Thank goodness. The wardrobe shouldn't be opened. Phew. I breathed a long sigh of relief. But as always, the unexpected happens. My heart, which had just settled, was pulled back up by Inori's next words. "Oh, baby, you should have another set of pajamas here, right? That clumsy girl Kang got hers wet while taking a shower. I'll take one from your stash." "Nakamura, look at the good deed your daughter has done. Are you trying to kill me or yourself?" As she said this, Inori started toward the wardrobe. I couldn't stop her now. I had to do this. The moment Inori's hand pulled open the wardrobe door, the room plunged into darkness again. "Baby, why did you turn off the light?" Inori looked toward me, confused. She hadn't seen Nakamura, who was pale-faced and hugging herself tightly. I didn't answer, quickly walking to Inori's side. "Inori, hurry, I can't wait." Seeing her boyfriend so eager, Inori was naturally very happy. "Baby, this eager? Hurry up then." Yes, it's because Kang is next door, so..." Inori chuckled lightly. I had bitterness in my heart that I couldn't express. The excitement was real, but it was a bit hard on the heart. But just then, I felt someone touching my ears, reaching from above my head, and my head was facing the wardrobe. "Nakamura, are you effing crazy?" This thrill wasn't just a simple 1 + 1 = 2. This was equal to 3 or more. This incompetent wife comes home every day saying she is tired. Every time it comes to doing homework, she makes all kinds of excuses to refuse. I originally thought it was because she worked hard, until she brought home a female CEO. Only then did I understand that this was the start of my nightmare. A female mother-in-law was bad enough. Now there is a female CEO as well. I, who have been weak my whole life, today in this female-dominated world where women outnumber men, I will become a useful husband. Just a moment ago, I lay in bed, waiting for my wife to come over, but I didn't expect the female CEO to sneak into my bedroom. Because of this, I thought it was my wife and let her do as she pleased. But then the door was knocked again. Only then did I realize the person before me was not my wife, but the CEO. Because of this, I had to let her hide in the wardrobe, but what I never expected was that while I was ahem with my wife, the CEO was actually touching my ears, reaching from above my head, while my head faced the wardrobe. At this moment, I cursed in my heart. Nakamura, are you fetching crazy? This thrill was not simple. It was overwhelming. I bit my teeth so hard I wouldn't make a sound, but my body trembled more and more violently. Inori thought it was her own doing and put in even more effort. I felt my heart rate was at least 180. Seeming dissatisfied with my silence, 2 fingers blocked my nostrils from left and right. It wasn't that my hands were tied. I just didn't dare to move a muscle, fearing any small action would make Inori notice. In less than half a minute, I couldn't hold it and open my mouth. That little snake took the opportunity to sneak in. Crucially, I didn't dare bite. If Nakamura cried out in pain, everything would be over. In the quiet room, the sound of Inori drinking water with some difficulty echoed. At the same time, I clearly felt Nakamura pause, then slowly withdraw. That can be eaten too. Nakamura was indeed shocked by Inori's actions, knowing that this girl truly loved me and would do anything for me. Am I really going too far? She fell into a moment of reflection, but only for a moment. But why? I feel even more excited. Nakamura felt she had never had such a feeling. Not even that time in the hotel when her daughter was lying behind me. So much again. I was completely numb. My tense body went limp the moment Nakamura left. A rustling sound echoed, the sound of Inori removing her armor. I felt a soft, beautiful body embrace me. Face to face, she whispered, "Baby, am I good?" HMPH. Fully immersed in the moment, Inori didn't detect my reluctance at all. Just as I thought that woman wouldn't pull any more stunts, I felt an itchy sensation of hair brushing against my soles. You've got to be kidding me? Still at it? Nakamura had bypassed the bed to secretly reach my feet. She first used her hair to brush my soles, and when I couldn't take the tickle and moved away, she grabbed my ankles. Inori stroked my soft hair and whispered in my ear, "Baby, does having someone next door make you this excited? You pervert." I couldn't help but twitch my cheek. Thinking of the crazy behavior just now, I couldn't help but think, Inori is right. Maybe I really am a pervert. But I'm not the only pervert here. Nakamura, you just wait. Using shyness as an excuse, I dodged Inori's playful teasing. After getting dressed in the dark, I grabbed my pajamas and left. The room fell into silence again, with only the faint scent of pomegranate blossoms proving what had just taken place. I turned on the lights, eyes bloodshot, searching for that woman who acted so recklessly without regard for the consequences. Nakamura was curled up by the bedside, panting for breath. She was weak all over from a sensation she had never experienced before. Especially at the very end, she had uncontrollably wanted to embrace me, but her final shred of reason suppressed that suicidal urge. The sudden light made her squint. Once she adjusted, she realized I was standing right in front of her. My bloodshot eyes showed that I was brimming with fury. Furthermore, it wasn't just my eyes. Something else also made it clear that my emotions were running extremely high. A charming smile played on Nakamura's lips. Her peach blossom eyes stared fixedly at me as she slowly scooted her delicate body toward me, looking up at the man she desired. This submissive, cajoling posture was a first for her. She wasn't used to it at all, but she had to do it now. Nakamura was different from Amano. She was someone who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. In the current situation, stubbornness would only be counterproductive. Although we hadn't been in contact for long, she could tell I was the type who responded to softness rather than hardness. Moreover, in romantic relationships, I always wanted to be the one in control. Is that so hard? Just satisfy me. She hugged my leg, pressing her upper body against me. Little brother, are you angry? It's my fault, but I really couldn't help myself. Won't you forgive me just this once? If it comes to it, I'll do whatever you want. Isn't that enough? Her gentle voice carried a trace of fragile pathos. Let's just say Nakamura still didn't understand me well enough. Under normal circumstances, I might respond to softness, but this was no normal situation. A cruel smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. That's what you said, Sister Ling. Don't go back on your word. Upon hearing this honorific, Nakamura felt a moment of relief, thinking I would at most make some slightly humiliating demands, and that she could just grit her teeth and get through it. But when she saw my expression, Nakamura realized she was wrong. Wrong to an outrageous degree. All along, she had played the hunter, chasing me relentlessly, wanting to consume me completely. Now, because of her own actions, Nakamura had voluntarily surrendered the power. With the roles reversed, she finally realized, beneath that handsome, sunny exterior did not lie a gentle soul. A fierce, violent beast was imprisoned within that delicate frame. With her hands and feet bound, Nakamura panicked. She had no idea what I wanted to do. She had always assumed she would be the one in control. Now that the roles were swapped, the loss of control made her deeply uneasy. I didn't know why there was rope in a hotel room, but it was perfect. Tonight, I had to teach this woman a lesson carved into her bones, or she would keep pestering me. One Amano was difficult enough to deal with. Having another one of the same level, or worse, would be the death of me. Sister Ling, what's wrong? You look a bit off. Are you scared? If you're scared, we can stop here. I'll pretend you never said that just now, I said mockingly. Nakamura wasn't exactly scared, just unaccustomed to this. But things had reached this point. She couldn't back down now. Her face still held that familiar, comforting, gentle smile. Sister isn't scared, of course. I just don't know what you want to do, little brother. Can't you tell me? You're making me so anxious. As she spoke, she twisted her body, swaying from side to side. My eyelids twitched. I had guessed her size before, and seeing it so directly now, my suspicions were confirmed. My gaze drifted to the long trench coat tossed aside. By the way, Sister Ling, you came wearing only this? You don't have some strange fetish, do you? Nakamura gritted her teeth and looked away. Of course, she didn't have such a hobby. She had rented a room next door, so she hadn't needed to wear much for such a short distance. But she certainly wasn't going to tell me that. Stubborn, aren't you? I like people with stubborn mouths. I hope the mouths on your body are just as stubborn. Nakamura froze, not realizing what I meant by mouths on your body at first, but she understood a second later. Sister Ling, why aren't you screaming? Afraid of disturbing the neighbors? How ridiculous. You weren't like this just now. Didn't you say it was exciting? Answer me! I slapped her hard, leaving a deep crimson mark on her snow-white skin. Nakamura couldn't hold it back and let out a soft moan. See, that's it. Scream it out. Once you scream, it won't hurt anymore. Instead, it'll be very comfortable, don't you agree? I don't know how much time passed. I had no intention of stopping. With her breathing obstructed, Nakamura's consciousness began to blur. With my back to the light, I loomed over her heart like a nightmare. What kind of person did I provoke? She slowly closed her eyes as a tear of humiliation fell. I paused, then smirked. Tears count as time too. Mentally and physically battered, Nakamura fainted completely after hearing those heartless words. At 2 a.m., I untied the rope and wiped the remaining tears from her eyes. After all, she wasn't a truly evil person. My anger had dissipated the moment she fainted, and I didn't do anything else. Sigh. I shook my head helplessly. I hope you learn your lesson this time. After covering her with the blanket and getting dressed, I decided to go out for some fresh air to cool off. As I gripped the door handle, I suddenly remembered something. I said without looking back, I'll be back in a while, I don't want to see anyone else in this room. I wasn't sure if Nakamura would wake up, but what if? Shortly after the door closed, the woman on the bed curled into a ball. In the quiet room, only soft sobbing could be heard. I leaned against a railing not far from the hotel, getting a headache just thinking about two women who had bad intentions toward me. Amano could be explained away as bad karma. But what about Nakamura? I replayed the process of our interaction repeatedly, unable to fathom why she would take an interest in me. A moment ago, a phrase of hers bothered me. I need a child. If she wanted one, she could just have one, couldn't she? In this world, it's not like women can't give birth on their own. So it must mean she is the one who can't. I think I've found the root of the problem. As for why she targeted me, I don't know, and I don't want to know. As I said before, one Amano is hard enough to handle. Another one will be the end of me. I shuddered and rubbed my arms. The seaside night was cold. If she isn't awake, no, she must be awake. On the way back, I ran into 3 women, stumbling drunk and disheveled. They were swaying toward me, heavily made up. They clearly had just come from some nightclub. I could smell the heavy scent of alcohol from afar, so I frowned and quickened my pace, hoping to get away quickly. What a handsome little brother. Why are you roaming around at this hour? A woman in leopard print tights blocked my path. Her face, which was passably pretty, was flushed with alcohol. Any other man might have been trembling and unable to speak, but not me. I swept my eyes over the 3 of them, instantly calculating an escape route in my head. At the same time, I put on a frightened, forced smile. I have something to take care of right now. Could you please let me pass, miss? Watching the handsome man call her miss like a frightened lamb, the woman felt her heart melting. Oh, little brother, your mouth is so sweet. Hee, miss. She wiped her mouth and put on a smile she thought was kind but looked sinister to me. It's so late, and you're so unsafe by yourself. Come with us, we'll show you something good. This isn't good. My mother told me not to go with strangers. Do I look like a bad person? Come on. The other 2 women approached, also looking at me with infatuation. It's very safe with us protecting you, one said, reaching out to grab me. She was blocked by the first woman. What do you mean? I saw him first. What do you mean you saw him first? We all saw him together, didn't we? Then why didn't you say hello? And he called me miss, not you. Go home already. Didn't your mom call you a dozen times? She can call all she wants. I know you just want to hog him. It was the same last time. I raised an eyebrow. A repeat offender, huh? While they were arguing, the 3rd woman tried to sneak up and grab me. What are you doing? My shout threw them into chaos, and I took that chance to bolt along my planned route. But I had only run a few steps before I was grabbed by the collar and tackled to the ground. What? This isn't right. Aren't you all drunk? A series of questions raced through my mind. The answer came immediately from behind me. You think you can run? I used to be on the track team in school. You think you can outrun me? The woman in leopard print tights pinned me down. She said triumphantly to the 2 women catching up. I caught him. You have no objections that I'm first, right? I sighed silently. I wasn't afraid, just a bit regretful. I should have stayed with Nakamura. At least that woman truly matched my aesthetic. Restrained by 3 women significantly stronger than me, escape was impossible. 2 held my arms on either side. The other was scouting the surroundings. They knew what they were doing was illicit, so they couldn't be loud. Don't be afraid, little brother. We'll let you go tomorrow. The other chimed in. Yeah, I'm not bragging, but they call me the juicer of the nightlife. I'm incredibly persistent. I'll give you a flying experience. I couldn't help but twitch my mouth. If I said I wasn't curious, I'd be lying. Stop bragging. Don't think, I don't know, you were knocked out by that boy at the bar in under 3 minutes last time, begging for a break. The leopard print woman rolled her eyes at her with a scoff. Ha, exactly. You either have it or you don't. What's this begging for a break business? They noticed me staring at them with disdain. The woman's already red face grew even redder. You. That day I was just not in a good state. Today I'll show you. Yeah, sure. Oh, right. Under the pitch-black night, 3 women and 1 man walked down the road. A light suddenly flashed in the distance. Someone was riding a motorcycle toward us. Just as I was about to call for help, my mouth was covered, and the 3 women surrounded me to hide me from the traveler. Through the gap in their bodies, I saw a flash of wine-red hair under the street lamp. Just a moment ago, I had been kidnapped by 3 delinquent girls. I had sought help from the red-haired woman on the motorcycle, but the motorcycle didn't stop and sped away. The woman in leopard print tights pinched my cheek. Trying to call for help? As if. Clever little brother, tonight you'll serve us well. Got it? After about half an hour, they brought me to a rented apartment. It was a mess, with clothes thrown everywhere. You 2 keep an eye on him. A little fun is fine, but I must be the first one, understand? The woman then headed for the bathroom. From the visible muscle tone on her body, she really must have been on the track team. I had completely given up resistance and had the luxury of thinking about such things. One of the women widened her eyes, signaling the other to look. We really hit the jackpot. Can it really only be one night? Actually, 2 nights wouldn't be impossible. What do you think, little brother? I don't think so. I didn't want to be here even for 1 night. Thinking this, I couldn't say it out loud. Sisters, could you please let me go? If I don't go back, my family might call the police. The juicer poked my forehead. Little brother, you're lying. It's 2 a.m. and you're still out. If you said they'd call the police tomorrow, I'd believe you. But tonight? Hee hee. These women actually have some brains. Oh well, consider it bad luck. Like being crushed by a ghost. Seeing me silent, they grew bolder, just as she was about to touch me. Knock, knock, knock. The 2 women looked at each other. Who is it? Yeah, who could it be at this hour? A happy tune hummed from the bathroom. What luck tonight, picking up such a premium little man. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. The more she thought, the more impatient she became. She washed up quickly and stepped out of the bathroom. But the scene before her left her dumbfounded. Her 2 companions were nowhere to be found. On the cleaned-up sofa sat a woman who looked completely out of place in the chaotic environment. Wine-red hair fell over her shoulders, covering one eye, but it couldn't hide her stunning beauty. She crushed her cigarette in the ashtray, the diamond-encrusted silver bracelet clinking against the glass. Her crossed legs swayed rhythmically. Behind the sofa stood 2 tall, muscular women wearing sunglasses, and the little man they had picked up was sitting right next to her. What are you doing in my house? I'll call the police. Her voice trembled. Anyone could see what was happening. The little man clearly belonged to this woman. She had made a cataclysmic mistake. The red-haired woman was, of course, Hiroshi Tanaka. She went home at this hour every night and happened to pass that coastal road. I caught a glimpse of her, and naturally she caught sight of me. She had a deep impression of this little brother who helped her close a big business deal. Putting together the time, location, and the state of those 3 women, it was obvious something was wrong. She had followed them quietly and found that things were just as she suspected. Hiroshi Tanaka didn't even lift her eyelids. Sure, let's calculate who the police will arrest first. Abduction? No. Kidnapping? False imprisonment? Attempted indecency? Or maybe you've already done it? I turned to argue that they hadn't, but Hiroshi Tanaka pressed my head back down. This woman has such strength. With every word Hiroshi Tanaka spoke, the woman's legs grew weaker, until she collapsed against the door, paralyzed. Seeing that she had lost the ability to resist after just a few sentences, Hiroshi Tanaka couldn't be bothered to lift a finger herself. She pulled me up and walked out. As we left, she gave her subordinates a look, then closed the door. Downstairs, I subconsciously looked up. Sister Wrong, is this necessary? It wouldn't be good if someone died. Hiroshi Tanaka held up a finger and waved it in front of me. Little brother Riku, don't talk nonsense. Murder is illegal. I'm just giving them a small lesson. As long as we don't do it ourselves, it has nothing to do with us. Hiroshi Tanaka swung her leg over the motorcycle. Because of the pose, the fair, soft flesh above her stockinged thigh was exposed. But that wasn't what I was focusing on. I say, Sister Wrong, high heels, is this really okay? Her answer was a sharp roll of her eyes. Are you getting on or not? If not, walk back yourself. Yes, thank you, Sister Wrong. I now had a psychological trauma about walking alone at night. Sister Wrong, drive slower, we don't have helmets. Thud, thud, thud. Hair in my mouth. The moment we started, I regretted it. I'd rather have walked. This heart-stopping speed was no better than running into a drunkard on a night walk. If you're scared, hold on tight. I don't like driving slowly. You're amazing. Everyone who races motorcycles is crazy. Terrified of being thrown off, I could only press against her back, wrapping my arms tightly around her waist. Her skin felt firm and flexible against my arms. As expected of someone who runs a nightclub, this physical fitness could probably take on 2 of my past selves. The half-hour trip took less than 5 minutes with the engine roaring. As soon as I got off, my legs almost gave out. Hiroshi Tanaka reached out to steady me. No, I'm fine. I waved her off, leaning against the railing to stretch my thighs, and soon recovered. Hiroshi Tanaka raised an eyebrow. She didn't like weak people, man or woman. Whether this kid was faking it or truly this way, she found him fairly tolerable to look at. She glanced at the hotel not far away and pulled out a cigarette. Click. Back on vacation? I turned to see her beautiful didn't do her justice. To be precise, this big sister was truly cool. Yeah, brought my girlfriend to show her where I grew up. Didn't expect to run into this while coming out for some air in the middle of the night. Girlfriend, huh? You probably didn't tell her what you used to do. I was stunned and subconsciously told the truth. I had forgotten that this big sister knew everything about me. I gave a helpless smile, the meaning clear. Hiroshi Tanaka looked at me sharply, not hiding the disdain in her eyes. I understood perfectly. After all, having done that kind of work in the past and then hiding it while dating someone in college was indeed quite dishonest. Penhift. Forget it. I have no right to talk. I was the one who introduced you. The awkward silence lasted until Hiroshi Tanaka finished her cigarette. She crushed the butt, hiked up her skirt, and swung her leg over the motorcycle, brushing her hair back. She suddenly asked an odd question. By the way, are you still in contact with Amano? The question shocked me. I shook my head. No, I didn't know the nature of Hiroshi Tanaka's relationship with Amano, so I just mentioned that we had business dealings. Hiroshi Tanaka nodded. Fine. Get along well with your girlfriend. See you. I didn't come to my senses until the taillights disappeared at the end of the road. It seems she really just asked on a whim. From her unconcealed disdain, it was clear she was the type of person who said exactly what she thought, straightforward and bold. I walked quickly toward the hotel, my mind still swirling with today's events. Generally speaking, I had discovered 2 potential points of detonation. Shimizu Yao knows there is a woman like that, but she doesn't know she is Inori's mother. Hiroshi Tanaka knows I have a girlfriend, but she doesn't know she is Amano's daughter. Sigh. Looking at it like this, if Shimizu Yao and Sister Rong compared notes, wouldn't I be finished? But how could that be? What connection could they possibly have? I chuckled self-deprecatingly, scaring myself for nothing. Gulf View Apartments. Hiroshi Tanaka parked the motorcycle in the garage and took the elevator to the 35th floor. She stopped in front of 3502, pressed her fingerprint to the lock, and entered. Seeing the living room lights on, she paused, then immediately remembered she wasn't living alone anymore. She walked to the kitchen, where a girl was sitting in a chair, nodding off, completely unaware of her return. Seeing this again, a gentle, helpless smile appeared on Hiroshi Tanaka's face. She had told this child many times not to wait for her. She walked over and tapped the girl's shoulder gently. Yao-chan, don't sleep here. The girl rubbed her sleepy eyes and opened them. Sister Rong, you're home. I made porridge. Drink some before you rest. Saying this, Yun Shuyao stood up and walked to the stove. She picked up the insulated clay pot, placed it on the dining table, and brought out a set of tableware. Throughout the process, Hiroshi Tanaka only watched quietly with a soft expression, not saying a word. She had already told the girl many times that she didn't need to do these things, but it was useless. This child would always wait for her to come home, then insist she eat something before going to sleep. Sigh, if only you were a boy. Her sigh caught Yun Shuyao's attention. What's wrong, Auntie Rong? Is there trouble with the business? No, I was just thinking how nice it would be if you were a boy, little Yao. If I could adopt you, you wouldn't have to go back to that house. But since you are a girl, the matriarch would most likely never let you go. Yun Shuyao lowered her head, her expression unreadable, making it impossible to tell what she was thinking. Hiroshi Tanaka picked up a spoon and had some porridge. Have you eaten? Have some too. No thank you, Auntie Rong. Just leave it in the sink when you're finished. I'll wash it tomorrow. Watching Yun Shuyao walk back to her room step by step, Hiroshi Tanaka looked down at the porridge in the bowl. She and Yun Shuyao's mother were cousins. Strictly speaking, the girl should call her older cousin. Inside her room, Yun Shuyao stared at a photo on her phone. The main subject of the photo was a library. There was no one around, but a blurry figure could be seen in the corner of the frame. Turning off the screen, a faint, ambiguous smile played on her lips as she slowly drifted off to sleep. Good night, she whispered, though it wasn't clear who she was speaking to. I was finished, but not because of Yun Shuyao and Hiroshi Tanaka. Just as I stepped into the hotel lobby, a call from Inori came through. Feeling like a guilty thief, I hesitated before pressing answer. Where did you go? Come back quickly, I have something to tell you. Her tone was cold. I wanted to ask what was wrong, but she hung up. She didn't even use her pet name for me. Could she have found out about that woman? Because Inori's attitude was so strange. Never in the time we had known each other had she spoken with such coldness. It was certain she had discovered something. In that case, it could only mean Nakamura had revealed what I did earlier. It was highly likely she had sold me out. If Inori knew, there was no way Yui Takahashi didn't. To prevent her own image in her daughter's eyes from crumbling, it made perfect sense to shift the blame onto me. I sighed heavily. I knew it. Nothing good ever comes from getting involved with that woman. With a heavy heart, I reached the door. Just as I was about to swipe my card, I noticed the door was left slightly ajar. Swallowing hard, I pushed it open and stepped inside. "Are you there? Don't turn on the lights. Close the door and come over." Her voice wasn't as cold this time, but there was a hint of agitation in her tone. Since things had come to this, I didn't want to oppose her over such a trivial matter. I shut the door, walked in the dark to the bedside, and whispered, "Inori." Before I could finish, her shadow surged forward and hugged me tight. "Where did you go so late? Do you know how worried I was? Why didn't you tell me before you went out?" "It's so dangerous." Held tightly, I heard my girlfriend's tearful, concerned words in my ear. I realized why she hadn't turned on the lights. She must have been crying from anxiety and didn't want me to see. Feeling her deep concern, my anxiety vanished. I hugged her back, speaking gently. "I'm sorry, Inori. I couldn't sleep and felt a bit warm, so I went out for some air. Honestly, don't make me worry like that. It's the middle of the night. What would I do if something happened to you?" I could feel her trembling slightly, which showed she was truly terrified. I pressed my forehead against hers. "I promise, I'll tell you everywhere I go from now on, okay? Don't worry, see? I'm back now." I patted her back gently, trying to comfort her. But Inori's next question froze me stiff. "Who was that woman in red? And why is your bed so wet? It couldn't possibly be mine." I could bluff my way through the first question, but what about the second? Forget it, I'll try to use the first one to distract her. I cleared my throat, pretending it was difficult to explain. "Well, Inori, please don't get angry after I say this." Inori pinched my ear and pulled it away from her. "Go ahead, I won't get angry." "You say you won't get angry? This is the face of someone who is angry." I steadied myself. "That woman is a senior for my old part-time job. You know my situation. I need to work while studying." I know, so she's just a senior? Why would I be angry?" "Well, she pursued me in the past and took good care of me, but..." Sensing her grip tighten, I quickly changed the subject. "I didn't agree to it. Her family is wealthy, and I'm not worthy. People would just call me a gold digger." Inori was so amused by my words, she laughed. "You're so annoying. My family is wealthy too. Why aren't you afraid of that?" "Sigh, wasn't I tricked by you then? If you had told me about your family situation from the start, I definitely wouldn't have accepted you," I said with a look of extreme regret. "HMPH, it's too late to regret it now. You're already mine. Don't think about running away. You're not allowed to go anywhere." Seeing her return to her normal self, I let out a sigh of relief. "Sorry, Sister Wrong. Please keep carrying this blame for now. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely apologize in person." After silently apologizing to Hiroshi Tanaka, I asked, "Inori, why are you here? What about Yui Takahashi? Is she okay by herself?" If I hadn't mentioned it, she would have forgotten. After the post-coital refractory period, seeing Yui Takahashi sleeping soundly, Inori had wanted to go for round 2. She had snuck to my door, and just as she was about to knock, she realized it wasn't closed. Pushing it open, she found no one there. This had panicked Inori. She subconsciously looked downstairs and actually saw me, but she hadn't expected another woman to be right beside me. Observing for a while and seeing no untoward behavior, Inori hadn't come over. After all, it would make her look petty, and might even embarrass me. This series of events had made Inori completely forget about Yui Takahashi. Now, hearing me bring it up, she felt a bit embarrassed. Seeing her unable to answer, I knew she had forgotten. "You should go back and see if she's woken up." With that, any mood for anything else was gone. Giving me a light kiss on the lips, Inori returned to the room next door. Lying on the bed, I let out a long breath. This night has really been enough. Wait. The moment I closed my eyes, I sat bolt upright. I got out of bed and turned on the lights. I had to inspect every corner of this room carefully to ensure there wasn't a third person. I checked every spot in the room where someone could hide. After confirming Nakamura wasn't here, I finally relaxed and collapsed onto the bed. But immediately, my back felt a damp sensation, making me frown. This girl is really something. I refuse to admit this was my doing. At most, it was self-defense. What did that have to do with me? The next day, the three of us continued to wander around the city. This time, we didn't run into Yun Shuyao or Hiroshi Tanaka. Even Nakamura seemed to have truly vanished. In summary, comfortable. Soon, the start of the semester arrived. For the first time in a while, I returned to my rental apartment. As I reached the 3rd floor, I subconsciously glanced next door. I saw the door wasn't closed, and a smell of something burning wafted out. This drunkard hasn't gotten plastered and set the house on fire, has she? Fearing the worst, I yanked the door open. The scene inside left me dumbfounded. Faint black smoke drifted from the direction of the kitchen. What is this girl doing? Just as I was about to step in, I realized the state of the room couldn't be described as just messy. I thought the 3 women who kidnapped me were chaotic enough, but this neighbor was on a whole new level. After much effort, I finally reached the kitchen entrance. Looking inside, I finally knew what she was doing. I was absolutely shocked. Just moments ago, I had returned home and found black smoke coming from next door. I thought something had happened. When I reached her kitchen and looked in, I finally knew what she was doing. All right, let's move to the next step, preparing the sauce. The voice from a cooking video played on her phone. I silently glanced at the smoking iron pot nearby where something black was burning. A sarcastic comment caught in my throat. I really didn't know how to spit it out. Yu Baiwei was standing with her back to the kitchen door, the stove to her back left. Perhaps because she was home alone, she was dressed very casually, her smooth white back completely exposed. While I certainly enjoyed the view, I hadn't forgotten why I came in. Could you please look at what's in the pot? The voice from behind scared her, and she hurriedly turned off the stove in a panic. After letting out a sigh of relief, she patted her chest and turned to look at me. Thank you. If it weren't for you, this pot would be ruined again. Why don't you go change your clothes first? I looked away. Seeing my reaction, Yu Baiwei finally realized the situation. A deep blush spread from her neck to her earlobes. It wasn't just shyness, but deep shame at her current appearance and the state of her messy room. Wait here, don't go anywhere. I'll go tidy up. She awkwardly pushed me into the kitchen and closed the door. Immediately after, a clattering sound erupted from outside, followed by a soft wail of despair. About half an hour later, the door opened slowly. Yu Baiwei had put on clothes, but it was just a top. I couldn't tell if it was intentional, but she wore a tight yellow Pikachu t-shirt. The key was that the Pikachu face was stretched large, and its 2 red cheek spots were slightly bulging. What are you doing? Yu Baiwei still looked awkward and unnatural. However, her eyes lit up when she saw me cooking. She still remembered the taste of that hangover soup. She walked to my side and peered into the pot, her eyes full of admiration. It smells so good. What are you making? Is it for me? I shifted my gaze away from Pikachu's face. Yeah, I felt like if I didn't cook, those ingredients would just go to waste because of you. Yu Baiwei's expression stiffened at my ruthless comment. Then she laughed. Hey, I just started learning. Those are just tuition fees. Walking out of the kitchen, I paused at the sight of the tidy living room. The room that was chaotic just a moment ago was now spotlessly clean. Yu Baiwei coughed awkwardly. I didn't know you were coming over. I'm usually not like this. I had some friends over for a party last night. I looked at her skeptically, but didn't call her bluff. All right, come try this. Yu Baiwei couldn't wait. She picked up her chopsticks, grabbed a piece of meat, and put it in her mouth. So good! Seeing her reaction, I smiled. After she ate a few more bites, I asked, Ms. Yu, do you hate Inori? Yu Baiwei, still stuffing her face, felt a jolt in her heart. He really figured it out that day. What a sharp person. Have you met Amano already? Asked so suddenly, I thought she knew something, and subconsciously pinched my fingers under the table. Then I reconsidered. If she knew, she should have shown shock. Seeing her now, it probably had nothing to do with me. I have. Inori took me to meet her a few days ago. Then what kind of person do you think she is? Yu Baiwei looked up, her gaze fixed on me, her eyes filled with complex emotions. I couldn't read them, but my intuition told me this question was important to this woman. Very outstanding. So outstanding that I couldn't even bring myself to compare myself to her. Yes, she really is. Very outstanding. A bitter smile appeared on Yu Baiwei's lips. Let me tell you a story. The relationship between their two families had always been good. Yu Baiwei was a few years younger than Amano. When they were small, she followed Amano around like a little sidekick. Back then, they were just innocent childhood playmates. Later, when they started school, things began to change. They say the school is a microcosm of society, and Yu Baiwei understood that deeply. But the one being compared wasn't her, nor their classmates. It was her parents. Look at your sister Amano. She got a perfect score again. Look at your sister Amano. She won an award. Look at your sister Amano. Yu Baiwei wasn't actually bad. She was talented compared to her peers. But she felt as if she lived in Amano's shadow, bound by her forever. She hated Amano, she hated her family for always comparing them, and she hated herself for not being able to be the best. Finally, she grew tired, gave up, and left her hometown for a new city to start afresh. The story was short, and Yu Baiwei's tone was flat, but only she knew the resentment and heartache of those years. And Inori? How do you feel about her? I was concerned about her attitude toward my girlfriend, as Inori seemed to like this auntie. Yu Baiwei complained, "You really are very protective of her." "Of course. In any case, I am her boyfriend, aren't I? That child is good. I like her well enough. It's just that every time I see her, I think of Amano, and my mood turns sour." "So the snacks you secretly bought her when she was little were sincere then?" "I didn't say that. I just wanted to know that much." "Then, Auntie Yu, you better adapt ahead of time. In the future, Nori will inevitably come looking for you when she visits me." I smiled, saying the words that would ruin her day in a relaxed tone. Watching my smile, Yu Baiwei couldn't help but feel a sense of schadenfreude. This guy is so punchable. How can someone with such a handsome face make such an abominable expression? "Who are you calling Auntie? Am I really that old?" As she said this, her emotions were a bit agitated, and the Pikachu on her chest shook violently. "Not old, but don't I have to follow Inori's lead?" "No need." Yu Baiwei waved her hand. "You can keep calling me Ms. Yu, or Big Sister Yu, or even just by my name. Just don't call me Auntie Yu. Do you hear me?" Her stubbornness left me speechless. It seems that in every world, women are sensitive about the topic of age. After the meal and cleaning up, I prepared to go back. At that moment, Yu Baiwei stopped me. Yu Baiwei hesitated, as if she had something difficult to say. She walked over with her long, beautiful legs and after a moment brought out a piece of paper and handed it to me. I took it and looked. It was a contract. "Are you trying to hire me as a babysitter?" "How?" I instinctively wanted to refuse. Yu Baiwei interrupted. "Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. Why don't you look at the pay first?" My eyes widened at the number. I shook my head, unable to believe it, and looked again. "Are you sure? It says 10,000 for 2 meals a day, with weekends off?" I was tempted. Since starting college, I hadn't had an income, but I still needed daily expenses. I couldn't just let her pay for everything. The next day, I woke up half an hour early because of my new job for Yu Baiwei. At 6:50 a.m., 2 simple breakfasts were ready. I went to wake up Yu Baiwei, who was still asleep. Knock, knock, knock. "Ms. Yu? Are you awake? Breakfast is ready." I waited a moment, but there was no response. Although I could leave after eating my own share, I decided to wake her up out of principle. The moment I pushed the door open, the scent that had accumulated all night wafted out. Walking to the bedside and looking at her sleeping face, the corners of my mouth curled upward. This woman is really insecure. The duvet had completely transformed into a body pillow. Her curvy body wore only a loose bathrobe, her long, fair thighs almost entirely exposed. The curled up Yu Baiwei's lips twitched, as if she were dreaming of eating something. "Ms. Yu?" I called twice, but she didn't react. I had no choice but to shake her shoulder. "Why are you here?" The confusion in her voice didn't sound faked at all. "Didn't you forget what we discussed yesterday? Get up and wash up for breakfast. I have to go to class after this." She agreed enthusiastically, but her body didn't move. She even wiggled and moved further under the covers. My eyelid twitched. This person is really... well, I don't know how to evaluate this. Maybe hitting the snooze button is a human instinct. I sat at the table and started eating my breakfast. Yu Baiwei walked into the bathroom, brushing her teeth while glancing at me through the corner of her eye. This kid doesn't seem shy at all. It was the same yesterday. Am I really that old and unattractive? I pinched the still beautiful face in the mirror, then looked down at her chest, which was firm despite the loose bathrobe. Women in this world love beauty just the same, and enjoy handsome men with both good looks and figures. It's just that the reaction when seeing each other's bodies is slightly different. Men feel shy when they see a woman's body, while women, when seeing a man's body, appreciate it. Or whistle. Yubaiwei finished washing up just as I was almost done eating. You guys are going to the class meeting today, right? She picked up a piece of bacon. Yeah, it's just a meeting today, no actual classes. Yubaiwei nodded, a faint, subtle smile on her face. After the meal, I left first. Yubaiwei stayed behind to prepare her clothes and some employment paperwork. Thinking of what would happen later, the corners of her mouth wouldn't stop rising. I really look forward to your reaction later. Hee. When I arrived in front of the department building, Inori was already there with 2 bags of breakfast. She was wearing a pale, pink long dress, and around her smooth neck was the necklace I had given her. Yui Takahashi was standing nearby. Though she had changed into men's clothes, I suppose she isn't used to being seen in a dress at school. Tisk, that sounds a bit weird, but it's not wrong. Upon seeing me, Inori waved with a smile and came toward me under the envious gazes of many other girls. The 3 of us went to a nearby pavilion. Knowing her, I could tell my girlfriend was already hungry and hadn't started eating yet just to wait for me. By the way, Inori, you don't need to bring me breakfast anymore. I'll just make something at home. Why? Inori's cheeks puffed out, her eyes filled with confusion. I couldn't tell her I was hired by Auntie Yu, so I thought for a moment and said, because I've been researching breakfast recipes lately. I'll make them for you from now on. Oh, is that so? Hee. Okay then. Hearing her boyfriend say this, Inori looked sweet. Feeling the steamed bun in her mouth tasted even better. Yui Takahashi looked glum. She never expected to be fed this couple's dog food so early in the morning. If she had known, she wouldn't have come with Inori. I never noticed him being like this before. What's gotten into him today? After Inori finished breakfast, the 3 of us walked to the classroom. We heard 2 boys sitting in front of us chatting. Did you hear? Old Liu seems to have left his post temporarily. So who's our new director? I heard it's a great beauty. What's wrong, babe? Nothing. Do you know who our director is? How would I know? Inori's expression suddenly became very dramatic. I looked in the direction of her gaze, and my expression instantly became just as dramatic as Inori's. Under the silent gaze of the students, a woman walked into the classroom. A crisp white shirt and a pencil skirt that perfectly accentuated her hips. A cold, beautiful teacher. But the person was Yubaiwei. Inori was a bit better, her eyes only showing shocked surprise. My eyes were full of shock and disbelief. Is this woman really the same messy, drunk, cooking illiterate person I met before? Yubaiwei, standing in front of so many people as a teacher for the first time, felt her heart race. However, her inherent quality remained. Despite having wasted a few years, she maintained a gentle and kind smile. As her gaze swept across the room, she quickly found us. This glance didn't mean much to us, but the 2 guys sitting in front were losing their minds. Ah, was she looking at me? Did she just look at me? The other guy retorted mockingly, give it a rest. She was clearly looking at me. Listening to their back and forth, I shook my head helplessly. It was their fantasy, but my everyday life. Now tilted her head toward my ear. You're neighbors with Ms. Yu, right? Do you have any idea about this? No idea, she's very tight-lipped. She probably just wanted to see our shocked expressions. As I said this, I suddenly remembered the strange look Yubaiwei had given me when she found out which university I attended. Seemingly sensing my gaze, Yubaiwei looked over this way again, giving a playful wink. The meaning was obvious. You didn't expect this, did you? Ah, she looked at me again. I can't take it anymore. Watching those 2 guys get hit so easily by a single glance, I sighed slightly. They were definitely acting like country bumpkins. Not long after, our homeroom teacher walked in, a kind-looking middle-aged woman. All right, everyone, settle down. Quiet down. This is your new academic advisor. Ms. Yu, please introduce yourself. Yubaiwei nodded slightly at her. Hello everyone, my name is Yubaiwei. I am filling in for Mr. Liu as your temporary advisor. If you run into any difficulties or have questions over the next 3 years, feel free to come see me. After the cheers died down, applause filled the room. The homeroom teacher raised her hand to ask for quiet again, then began discussing some new semester matters and asking several girls to go help move the new textbooks. Neo was called away. She was the type with a tall, strong, and athletic build. Ling was not called, as everyone knew she wasn't exactly the girly type. Watching this scene, I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Once upon a time, I was the one out there moving boxes. I never thought I'd end up being the delicate, weak male here, but it's not bad. Who wouldn't want to rest? As I was packing up the textbooks, Now leaned over and whispered, "Babe, I'll go to your place later. I need to ask Ms. Yu why she was glaring at me. Also, you can't call her Miss Yu anymore. You have to call her Ms. Yu, Auntie." Ha, Auntie? I gave a bitter smile in my heart. I wanted to call her that too, but she wouldn't let me. Plus, she was my girlfriend's new boss. I had to listen to her. While I was waiting for Nao here, someone suddenly tapped my left shoulder. I turned to look to the left. When I turned back, a flash of brown hair appeared in my field of vision. "Senpai? You're playing this game too?" I chuckled. And Senpai was usually expressionless, giving off a very serious vibe, so this kind of playful behavior was quite rare. "It's nothing. What are you doing here?" Her eyes, the only part of her face that showed much emotion, held a faint smile. "I'm waiting for Nao to come down, so we can head back to my apartment together." Hearing me say that, the look in Senpai's eyes dimmed slightly. "I see. Well, I won't disturb your couple time, Kohai." "Understood. See you, Senpai." Senpai waved, but as she walked to the dorm entrance, Nao happened to be coming out, and the two bumped into each other. The senpai, who had just learned my secret, had collided with my girlfriend. Senpai even gave a meaningful smile. Afterward, my girlfriend dragged me off to find her aunt. It turned out she wasn't home. She was likely still at the university handling her new employment paperwork. Because of this, my girlfriend took me to see a movie to kill time in the afternoon. There were only 4 people in the theater, including us. The other pair were 2 women. I felt drowsy, but Nao seemed to be getting quite into it, especially during the scene where the female lead pinned the male lead to the wall and kissed him forcefully. I clearly felt her breathing quicken. The suppressed sound jolted me, and I was wide awake. What's going on? Subconsciously, I turned to look at Nao. I saw her pointing at the 2 women over there. I raised an eyebrow. Tisk, even if there are few people, this is a public place. Isn't this inappropriate? I had barely finished condemning them in my heart when I noticed the way my girlfriend was looking at me became a bit strange. Now, in the dim theater, the light from the screen illuminated Nao's beautiful face, one half flushed with a rosy hue. The other half was hidden in the shadows, though I knew it must look the same. There was a touch of heat in her eyes, and her red lips, coated in lipstick, slowly moved toward me. Just as I subconsciously wanted to retreat, Nao immediately reached behind my head to block my escape. Just like in the movie. I don't know what love tastes like in the movies, but between Nao and me, it might just be the sweet scent of popcorn. "Babe, let me take the lead." Her tone was as gentle as always. The last time I heard words in a similar place, however, they were strict and brooked no resistance. "Don't move, don't speak. Right, bite on this and you won't make a sound. Hee. In a daze, I seemed to see the shadow of Nao's mother on Nao herself. Should I say as expected of mother and daughter? Even if you don't look alike, your hobbies are truly identical. I hadn't intended to do this, but I slowly started to feel a dry heat on my body. I had just been criticizing those 2 women for lacking decorum, and it didn't take long for it to be my turn. Nao seemed to have realized this too, and she lightly nibbled on my ear. "Babe, do you think those 2 over there noticed we're doing the same thing?" Her voice was unstable when she said this. It was clear how stimulating the first time in a place like this was for her. I grabbed her hand and interlaced our fingers, suddenly wanting to tease her. "Do you want them to notice and join in?" I expected her to get angry and refuse immediately, but to my surprise, she suddenly fell silent, then trembled violently. This reaction left me completely dumbfounded. My mouth twitched. Could it be that this girl also has some special fetishes? However, Nao quickly bit down hard on my neck, dispelling that thought, making me hiss in pain. Seeming to feel she had bitten a bit too hard, Nao licked the spot with some heartache, then said in a tone I had never heard before, "Babe, if you say something like that again, it won't be like this. You are mine. Only mine." I couldn't see her expression, but I knew I had angered her. Truly, those words are explosive in any world. "I'm sorry now, I shouldn't have said that." Nao didn't speak, just responding with actions. I don't know if it was my imagination, but it seemed like Nao lasted extra long today, yet she was still the first to succumb. After cleaning up a bit, we left before the movie was even over. Was the movie good? Nao asked, looking refreshed with flushed cheeks. Aren't you asking what you already know? You were blocking my eyes, what could I even see? Then let's come back next time, okay? You're getting addicted, aren't you? Tilfk. I moved my neck slightly and felt a sharp pain. Nao hurried to check when she saw this. It was too dark inside to notice what she had done, but she saw it clearly now that we were out. With a look of apology, she said, Sorry, babe. I was too rough. I pinched her cheeks. It's fine. Did I bleed? No. The mark is just a bit deep. Then it's fine. Nao suddenly looked confused. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing. It's just... Babe, you seem to have never been angry before. I haven't, but isn't that a good thing? It means you never give me a reason to be angry, eh? So I'm that good? A smile returned to Nao's face. It was that occasional childlike manner of hers that always made me treat her like a younger sister. Who could dislike their own sister? I suppose no one. We hadn't been back at my place long before Auntie Yu Baiwei returned. Now, Lu Zhao, were you waiting long? No. By the way, Ms. Yu, why didn't you tell us you were coming to our school to be an advisor? And you're our class's advisor too. Wasn't I trying to give you a surprise? At dinner time, Yu Baiwei suggested eating at her place, as she had bought plenty of ingredients and even snacks for now. Auntie, you haven't tasted Lu Zhao's cooking yet, right? How about letting him cook tonight? His food is delicious. This wasn't her trying to push the work onto me. She was simply showing off. Showing off that she had found a handsome boyfriend who could cook. Yu Baiwei and I both felt our hearts sink. We exchanged a subtle glance, both feeling a strange sense of guilt for the deception. Then let Miss Yu taste my cooking. You two just wait here, I said, walking into the kitchen. Now had a small question about how I addressed her. Auntie, why did he call you Miss Yu? Yu Baiwei was sitting on the sofa, relaxing her jade-like feet wrapped in black stockings. She had been standing for a long time today. I told him to call me that. Calling me Auntie makes me sound old. Oh, okay. Then I can't call you that either? Now didn't seem to see any issue. Seeing her looking so serious about it, Yu Baiwei smiled and said, No, now you can call me whatever you like. I bought you the snacks you like. Okay, wait, why is there so much alcohol? Yu Baiwei pulled out the beers and put them in the fridge. They're for drinking, of course. But you're still young, so you can't drink yet. Nao pouted. Who says? I'm already a university student. Tonight I'll drink to my heart's content with Ms. Yu. My hands shook as I prepared ingredients in the kitchen. I had a bad feeling. I had never seen Nao drink before. If this girl gets too drunk, will I be able to carry two drunks? About an hour later, the hearty dinner was ready, and the two women came over to help carry the dishes and chopsticks. The three of us sat down. Can we eat now? Looking at the table full of food, Nao was already swallowing her saliva. This glutton. Yu Baiwei and I exchanged a look, both thinking, eat, nobody is going to snatch it from you. Yu Baiwei had only taken a few bites before putting down her chopsticks. I knew something was missing. She got up and took the pre-chilled beer out of the fridge. How can you have such good food without alcohol? She popped the tab and took a big gulp. I watched as this woman finished a mouthful of beer, and her entire demeanor changed. My eyelid twitched. Is it really that magical? Oh no, I suddenly remembered what they had said earlier, and I turned to look at Nao. Sure enough, this girl had already opened hers and was bringing it to her lips. It was too late to stop her. Just as I had guessed, Nao, who had never drunk before, was soon tipsy. Her pretty face was flushed red. Supporting herself on my shoulder with one hand, she rambled, "WH, what do you think, Ms. Yu? I told you, Babe's cooking is good, right? Come, eat more." This girl, she really spills everything when she's drunk. She even let out our pet names from when we were alone. Facing Yu Baiwei's amused gaze, I silently kept my head down and ate. Yu Baiwei was also slightly tipsy. She didn't think Nao would be so extreme, but her face was also flushed. Hiss, that sounds so intimate, Nao. I love my babe the most. I'm going to marry him. Before she could finish her sentence, she thudded onto the table. I shook her shoulder and realized she was completely passed out. Sigh. I mean, Miss Yu now is probably drinking for the first time. Why would you compete with her? She was never gonna win. Against you. Yu Baiwei sat cross-legged on the chair, her elbows resting on the table to support her chin, looking at me with dreamy eyes. I wasn't competing with her. This girl just wouldn't admit defeat and insisted on drinking. Anyway, she's not a child anymore. A little drink won't hurt. What's wrong? Are you worried? By the end, she even pouted her red lips, looking quite unsatisfied. I'm not worried. Okay, maybe a little. Then stop drinking. Help me take her back later. I can't move her by myself. Yu Baiwei finished the last of her drink. Fine, I'll stop. Why take her back? Just let her sleep here tonight. It'll give you an excuse to come cook breakfast tomorrow morning, won't it? I thought about it, and that made sense. All right, that works. After the meal, Yu Baiwei intended to help me clear the dishes, but I noticed her walking was a bit wobbly. I hurriedly told her to sit down, saying I would handle it. When I finished cleaning up and walked out of the kitchen, I was momentarily breathless at the state of the big one and the little one. Nao was still sleeping, slumped over the table, but Yu Baiwei, who had promised to help move her, was also sound asleep on the sofa. Helpless, I had to do it myself. With a Herculean effort, I finally got Nao into the room and threw her onto the bed. But Nao, what are you doing? Don't pull me. I can't stay here, I can't. Facts proved that, whether Nao was awake or drunk, she could twist and turn me however she liked. As everyone knows, everything one experiences in a dream is false, except for two things that are real. One is needing to use the restroom. The other, if you know, you know. Summer is very hot, and if you are in a room with the doors and windows closed, with 3 people squeezed onto one bed, it gets even hotter. Wait, 3 people? Where did the third person come from? Soaked in sweat, I tried to identify the number of people around me through physical touch. The woman on my left was holding me firmly in her arms. I surmised this must be Nao. Then who was the person on the right, pressing my arm into their valley? I cautiously turned my head to look to the right. One look nearly scared me to death. Why are you here? And where is your armor? Yu Baiwei was holding one of my arms, pressed tightly against me, her face sleeping sweetly on my shoulder. I carefully recalled what had happened last night. They were both drunk. I had barely managed to get Nao into the room, and I fell asleep after being held by this foolishly strong girl who wouldn't let go. But when did this elder sister arrive? Just as I subconsciously wanted to scratch my head. My right arm moved, causing me to rub against Yu Baiwei, who let out a soft sound. I was so scared I froze and didn't dare move again. The room in the hotel was dark, but this room was somewhat illuminated by the streetlight outside. You closed the windows, why didn't you pull the curtains? I muttered helplessly in my heart. A moment ago, Yu Baiwei had gotten up to go to the bathroom. In a daze, she had subconsciously returned to her own room, and because it was so hot, she had shed her armor. Then she saw the scene of the young couple curled up together on the bed. They're so close. Let me soak up some of that joy too. As they say, she was truly drunk. If she had been sober, she definitely would have walked out. But in this befuddled state, she just drifted into bed on my other side. Resting her head on her hand to look at the happy-looking Nao, Yu Baiwei poked her cheek. I'm so envious of you now, finding such a good boyfriend. Then her gaze shifted to my face. He's handsome, cooks well, he's smart and kind. The key is, he's good to Nao. Why can't I find someone like that? She slowly moved closer to my exposed neck and sniffed. It smells so good. The scent coming from me made her even more intoxicated, and her whole body leaned in closer without her noticing. Just for a little while, let me lean on you. The murmur sounded like a dream escaping her lips. At first, it was just her forehead lightly touching my shoulder, but then she fell asleep too. Her unconscious body followed instinct, hugging my arm tightly and pressing against me. I couldn't figure it out even if I broke my head. Was it because the sight of me and Nao holding each other stimulated Yu Baiwei, making her want to experience the scent of a man? If I had known this would happen, I would have struggled to get away from Nao regardless of the cost. How do I count this situation? How should I handle it? If Nao wakes up and sees her favorite aunt so brazenly taking advantage of her boyfriend, I get a headache just thinking about it. Struggling hard would definitely wake one of them, and if I wake both, it'll be even more awkward. The best case scenario is to wake Yu Baiwei and get her to leave, or have her help me get Nao to let go. That's the plan. But with both hands held dead tight, how was I going to wake her? Looking at Yu Baiwei's current state, I steeled my heart. Anyway, everything that should have been touched had been touched. So what's a little more? I moved my head slowly and whispered, Miss Yu, wake up, stop sleeping. At the same time, I moved my right hand. Finally, through my unremitting efforts, Yu Baiwei cracked an eye open. But it seemed things weren't developing as I had hoped. Why are you in my bed? I must be dreaming. Let me sleep a bit more. Yu Baiwei muttered and tried to close her eyes again. This made me anxious. Dream? Dream my foot. You're not dreaming. Look at the situation. Hey. Looking at my face so close to hers, Yu Baiwei suddenly started laughing. What are you doing? Want a kiss? Sure, but stop making a fuss after. Don't even make a fuss in my dreams. Sleep well. I was speechless. I had just opened my mouth to say something when I was blocked by a pair of soft, red lips. No way. Does this woman have to be this shameless? Also, what do you mean I'm close to you? And I reiterate, this is not a dream. I stared at her with wide eyes. My freed arm didn't know where to push, because there wasn't a single spot on this woman that I could bring myself to touch right now. Just like that, I missed the best opportunity to wake her. My arm was bound again, and Yu Baiwei closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep. What is this? Waking her up only to be kissed? Self-humiliation. I fell into deep thought. When I turned my head to check on Nao, the pair of beautiful eyes already open nearly scared me to death. The hair all over my body stood on end, and my muscles immediately tensed. In this sweltering environment, I only felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar, shivering from head to toe. Now. 1 minute, exactly 60 seconds. I didn't dare move after asking that question, didn't even blink. I silently counted the seconds, and it felt like years. However, this long duration was enough for my blank brain to react. She just stared at me blankly, saying nothing. I suddenly had a terrible thought. Could this girl have been so traumatized that she went a bit blank? As soon as that thought crossed my mind, I became extremely afraid and anxious. Just as I was about to speak in a hurry, Nao sat up suddenly, which gave me another fright. I clutched my heart with my left hand, gasping with lingering fear. My heart. One of these days, you two are going to scare me into a medical condition. Restroom, Nao muttered to herself, swaying as she climbed out of bed. Only then did it hit me. The girl must have woken up needing to pee, but she was still half asleep. Her eyes were open, but her brain hadn't rebooted yet. But does it really take a whole minute for her brain to process such a simple matter? I looked at her back with a puzzled expression, and my own face turned into a bizarre, wry grimace. However, surprise aside, how could I let such a heaven-sent opportunity slip by? I hurriedly grabbed Yu Baiwei's shoulders and shook her hard. Ms. Yu, wake up! Stop sleeping, hurry up and let go of my hand. But to no avail. The woman, already half awake, held on even tighter after that jolt, pressing nearly half her body over me. What are you making a racket about now? Can't a person get any sleep? Don't you have work tomorrow? The vigorous shaking finally had some effect. This time, Yu Baiwei didn't act like it was still a dream. She struggled to open her eyes and saw my face. Why are you here? You're at it again? My mouth twitched. Ms. Yu, could you please let go of me? Let go? Only then did Yu Baiwei realize the posture we were in, or, strictly speaking, the fact that she was holding me tightly. Her fair skin was flushing red at a rate visible to the naked eye. If it were under bright lights, the only difference between her and a steam-powered machine would be that she wasn't venting smoke yet. That, she started, though it was unclear what she wanted to say. I spoke first. Ms. Yu, this is a misunderstanding. Please don't overthink it, and don't bring it up again. I left the place at nearly a running speed. Yu Baiwei stared blankly at the ceiling for a long time before she remembered what had happened, including what she had done when she was half asleep earlier. She buried her head in her hands and slammed it against the pillow. Oh heavens, what have I done? Auntie Yu, what are you doing? Hearing that voice, Yu Baiwei froze instantly. She turned her neck stiffly to look at Nao. Her head ached, and she tried her best to pull off a smile. What's wrong? Nao immediately sat down next to her, her concern evident. Seeing how concerned Nao was, Yu Baiwei felt an even deeper sense of awkwardness and guilt, but she could only force a smile. It's nothing. I think I just drank a bit too much tonight. Lu Zhao has pain relievers. I'll go get some for you. Yu Baiwei realized she might have overreacted and said immediately, I mean, he's probably asleep by now. I'm fine, I'm used to it. Go get some sleep. You have class tomorrow, and I have work. All right then. Now went to the other side and very naturally snuggled up next to Yu Baiwei, lying down against her shoulder. Auntie Yu, how long has it been since we slept together like this? Listening to her somewhat innocent words, Yu Baiwei let out a gentle sigh. It's been nearly 10 years, I suppose. Yeah, 10 years. So we haven't seen each other for 10 years. I really missed you. I never expected that. Thanks to Lu Zhao, I'd see you again. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Yu Baiwei said that, but in her heart, she felt she had wronged now. Did this count as cheating on her? She assumed it did. The next day, in the medical school building. Professor Mei, these are the materials for the upcoming class. Maisie gave a rare, faint smile as she took the documents. How was your vacation? It was fine. Everything was normal. Maisie wasn't surprised by this answer. Or rather, it would be abnormal if she said otherwise. By the way, regarding what I asked you before, about whether you have any interest in getting a boyfriend, have you given it any thought? Hearing this, Un's beautiful eyebrows arched slightly, and she glanced away. No, Professor Mei. Why are you suddenly interested in this? It's all because of that Now girl. She really thinks that Lu Zhao kid is a treasure everyone wants a bite of. Maisie adjusted her glasses. It's nothing. I just think that if you had a boyfriend to care for you, it might help with your condition. Caring for me. Unsubconsciously pictured my face, the boy glowing under the sunlight. The first class back from vacation is always the hardest for both teachers and students. Everyone was distracted, so the mood in the morning wasn't great. Soon, it was noon. When I arrived at the cafeteria to find a seat, I saw Yu Baiwei eating alone, so naturally, Now and the others went to share the table with her. Yu Baiwei was still wearing the same business attire as yesterday. Yesterday, she hadn't felt anything off, but today she inexplicably felt a sense of constriction. After all, what happened last night? She had deliberately avoided Now all morning, but she didn't expect to run into her in the cafeteria. Miss Yu, I said, seeing how nervous she looked. I knew she couldn't let it go, so I didn't point it out and just smiled. What would you like to eat tonight? Yu Baiwei glanced sideways, scrutinizing my expression. Suddenly, she felt she might have really been overthinking it. He didn't care at all. Right, why would he have any thoughts about someone of my generation? Quickly burying her small sense of disappointment, Yu Baiwei said, I won't be back tonight. I need to stay in the dorms for the first few days of the semester. I can't go back until next week. I nodded. Oh right, you're an advisor now, so you're busy with the start of the semester. We chatted for a while before Now and Ling returned with their food. After lunch, the three of us found a place to rest for a bit before the afternoon classes started. After school, I returned home. It was just past 4 o'clock. I felt a bit conflicted. Should I go buy ingredients? When Yu Baiwei isn't around, is it a bit rude to keep sponging off her food? Just as I was about to leave, I received a message from Yu Baiwei. Is there no food at your place? Go cook at mine. I won't be back for a while, and it'll spoil if it stays too long. What a good person. So I went next door to start cooking my dinner, just as I finished and set it on the table. A knock came at the door. I was puzzled. Yu Baiwei hadn't mentioned anyone coming over. I went to the door, peered through the peephole, and the person outside surprised me quite a bit. The woman outside was also quite surprised to see me. Why is it you? She said, covering her parted red lips, her voice filled with disbelief. Don't tell me your girlfriend is Ms. Yu. Sometimes I have to lament how small this world is. Just like not knowing whether tomorrow or an accident comes first, Hiroshi Tanaka's reaction, while a bit unexpected, didn't shock me too much. I pursed my lips, got her a pair of slippers, and said, Ms. Wrong, come in, sit down. Have you eaten? Not yet. Seeing my casual attitude, like I was hosting a guest, Hiroshi Tanaka became even more convinced of her theory. Seeing the food on the table, Hiroshi Tanaka was slightly surprised. She hadn't expected me to have these skills. I brought another set of chopsticks from the kitchen and placed them in front of her. Sitting opposite, I said, Ms. Wrong, you know Miss Yu. Old friends? I was just dropping my niece off at school and decided to drop by to see her. She tucked her hair behind her ear, picked up the chopsticks, tasted a bit, nodded, and said, Not bad. I really didn't expect you to have such great culinary skills. You're too kind. So shouldn't you answer my question from earlier? Hiroshi Tanaka's gaze carried a faint pressure. Her prerequisite for not being hostile to me was that I couldn't have any relationship with someone she knew and cared about. Since I might be Yu Baiwei's boyfriend, this situation required a serious explanation. I smiled slightly, knowing the subtext. Miss Wrong, I think you've misunderstood. I live next door. Miss Yu pays me to cook for her, but she has to stay at the school for now, so she allows me to use her kitchen to make my own meals. I see. Hiroshi Tanaka lowered her eyes. She didn't think I would lie to her. After all, she could just ask Yu Baiwei later and know the truth. I hope you don't mind my attitude earlier. I've just seen other undisciplined men before, so I understand. Actually, I appreciate your personality, Ms. Wrong. It's easy to talk to you. You're straightforward. I said this sincerely. Who could refuse to be friends with someone so bold and unconstrained? You really are different, Lu. It was the first time a man had appreciated her like this. Hiroshi Tanaka's lips curled into an arc. Actually, it wasn't just me. She felt the same. She met many men through work, but without exception, they were timid and didn't even dare look her in the eye, which she found dreadfully boring. My natural, unpretentious demeanor also made her appreciate me. She took out a cigarette, just about to light it when she stopped. Do you mind? This was the first time she'd asked someone if they minded before smoking. I understood that only now did this woman truly start to look at me properly. I felt I should give a preemptive warning, even though Hiroshi Tanaka might not be the gossiping type. Yes? What is it? It's just... Seeing me hesitate, how could Hiroshi Tanaka not understand? She shook her head with a smile. What? Want me to keep your past a secret? I coughed lightly and nodded. Haha, of course. I have professional ethics, you know. I never use coercion or bribery. I scratched my head, realizing I had overthought it. All right, eat up. Your cooking is really great. Ms. Yu hiring you saved her a lot of trouble. Whenever she remembered having to sample Yu Baiwei's cooking in the past, Hiroshi Tanaka shuddered. We chatted while we ate, and I learned how those two had become acquainted. It was a classic coincidence. They were high school classmates, the typical top student and slacker duo. But what surprised me was that the top student was Hiroshi Tanaka, and the slacker was Yu Baiwei. Hiroshi Tanaka's eyes held memories. Although Yu was a slacker in terms of grades, I know she was just faking it. She's brilliant. I just don't know why she pretended to be so sloppy. After cleaning up, I said goodbye and went back to my place. But I didn't expect that Hiroshi Tanaka would end up doing more harm than good, leaving me with a huge problem. Miss Yu, I'm at your place. Ah? Why are you there? I'm not home. I know. I opened the door. You saw him? Is he okay? Yu Baiwei, sitting in her office, sat bolt upright. She wasn't worried that Hiroshi Tanaka would do anything to me. Since her good friend didn't seem to like men, she was just worried about me being scared. Am I some kind of monster? He's fine. We even ate dinner together. His cooking is really good. Hearing this, Yu Baiwei slumped back into her chair. She wanted to go back, but she had to stay on duty for the next few days. It was exhausting. Hiroshi Tanaka thought for a moment and decided she needed to give Yu Baiwei a small warning. Miss Yu, you'd better keep your distance from this Lu Zhao. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. His relationship with Yan Ruyue is not simple. You'd better not have any inappropriate behavior with him. Hiroshi Tanaka might trust me, but she didn't trust men, especially handsome ones. Yu Baiwei couldn't understand it at all. My relationship with Yan Ruyue isn't simple? Isn't that obvious? Do you need to warn me specifically? Unless... Little wrong. Do you know who Lu Zhao's girlfriend is? No idea. Not interested. I didn't ask. This don't know, don't ask approach was very consistent with what Yu Baiwei knew of Hiroshi Tanaka. Just as Hiroshi Tanaka said, Yu Baiwei was the type of top student who didn't show her cards. If she put her mind to it, there was little she couldn't understand. A bold conjecture appeared in Yu Baiwei's mind. I went to see Hiroshi Tanaka, and I even met Yan Ruyue there. She gripped the edge of her phone, her fingertips turning white. If that were really the case, all she could say was, "Is this really that ridiculous?" All right, little wrong, I understand. Watching Yu Baiwei's reply, a peaceful smile appeared on Hiroshi Tanaka's face. That's right, harmony is best. Wouldn't it be ugly to have chaos everywhere? Be elegant. Her long fingers held the cigarette. She took a deep drag and slowly blew a smoke ring. "Babe, are you nervous?" I turned to look at Now. Judging by her chest heaving significantly and her small lips constantly opening and closing, she was the one who was nervous. "I'm not nervous, but why do you look even more nervous than me?" After the morning classes, we ate lunch and headed to the Mayu group for an interview. I originally said I could do it myself, but Now insisted on coming along. We came out of the building, and Now looked overjoyed. "I didn't expect it to go so smoothly, babe." I pulled at the corners of my mouth. Yeah, a little too smoothly. "Of course. My babe is so outstanding, naturally. Everyone is fighting to have you." I really couldn't understand this silly girl's train of thought. Unlike my speechlessness, Now just wanted to tell her mother the good news immediately. It was indeed good news, especially for Yan Ruyue. In the capital, at Mayu Group headquarters, Yan Ruyue, who was flipping through a report, had her attention drawn to the lit-up phone beside her. It was a message from Now. She still felt a bit guilty toward her daughter, but that guilt was always replaced by envy and jealousy whenever she saw me. "I have good news for you." "Good news? What kind of good news could you have?" "It's probably about that boy again." "Let's hear it." "I got Lu Zhao in as an employee at our company." Yan Ruyue's beautiful eyes widened slightly, her face showing disbelief. She recognized the words individually, but put together, they were hard to comprehend. However, after hearing the details, she became worried instead. That now, is this not considered deceiving him? Won't he be angry if he finds out later? This was exactly what Yan Ruyue was worried about. If Lu Zhao found out later that he had been deceived, would he tacitly accept it or angrily reject it? She felt either was possible. This was the first time Yan Ruyue had ever been so unsure of someone's thoughts, let alone a man's. "Oh no, he won't. I understand him. At most, he'll just throw a little tantrum, and I'll just coax him." "You understand him? You'll just coax him. Why? Why should I be dissatisfied?" Putting down her phone, Yan Ruyue closed her eyes and leaned back in her chair. At this moment, she seemed to have lost all her strength, staring listlessly at the ceiling she had seen countless times. I really am terrible. Completely oblivious to this, Nao was still feeling smug. With a good mood came a good appetite. "Let's go eat." I got home and took a shower, and as soon as I came out, I saw Nao's message, an image, a restaurant and a selfie of the two of them. Below it was a message. "Babe, are you coming?" I thought about it and decided against it. Maintaining the relationship of roommates was also very important. In my rare free time, I really didn't know what to do. Seeing it was about dinner time, I got up to check if Hiroshi Tanaka was still there. I knocked on the door, but there was no sound inside. After opening the door and entering, I found someone sitting on the sofa. I was startled. Finding it was Yu Baiwei, I was a bit resigned. "I mean, Miss Yu, you're home. How come you didn't react when I knocked? And why are you back today?" Yu Baiwei turned to look at me, her eyes filled with complex emotions that were hard to describe. I frowned slightly, looking confused. "Miss Yu, what exactly is wrong with you?" She lowered her head, her untied long hair covering her face. After a long while, a disappointed voice came. "I might have to get married." I blinked, not understanding why she would say this all of a sudden. "Well, if you have to marry, then marry. That's normal, right? Isn't this a good thing? Why do you look so unhappy?" Yu Baiwei turned her head sharply, her flowing hair brushing against my lips. "I don't want to get married. And I don't like the man my family arranged for me at all." I understood. A loveless family marriage, huh? That was indeed quite upsetting. "Then just talk it over with your family. If you don't like him, change to someone else." Yu Baiwei's expression was grim, and the look in her eyes had something I found strangely familiar. "Help me." I was startled, thinking I had misheard. "I said help me." Yu Baiwei said it again, louder. "No, this. How am I supposed to help you? Pretend to be my boyfriend and come back with me." I immediately stepped back and waved my hands. No. That doesn't seem to work at all, right?" I quickly backed up to the edge of the sofa. Just as I was about to stand up, Yu Baiwei quickly pressed over me, pinning my shoulders down. We locked eyes. Yu Baiwei gritted her teeth and spoke word by word, saying something that filled me with terror and made my heart race. "If you don't help me, I'll tell now about you and Yan Ruyue."